Tales of the World-Devouring Serpent. Author. Banana Panting, Shang Jiao Qi Shu Shu. Description. Fang Yun has become a snake and got a system. The system requires him to brush up to 10 million reputation values or face eternal death. So Fang Yun began to crazily upgrade. A beautiful outdoor streamer in the mountains, facing the camera and the live friends sending gifts, but was caught by a 1-meter-long python. 3,000 meters above the sea surface, Lake Logar is suspected of the appearance of water monsters, causing a large number of tourists to explore. On the calm sea, a luxurious cruise ship is slowly moving forward. Visitors stood on the deck as the sea breeze blew. Suddenly, someone found that under the water behind their cruise ship, a black shadow hundreds of meters long is following closely. Chapter 1. Reincarnated as a Snake. Translator. Ymir Moon. In a wet jungle, a 20 cm long gray snake stared at a black spotted frog not far from it. The snake was hidden between a cluster of dead leaves. The color of its body made it almost integrated with the surrounding environment. The nail-sized black spotted frog, although vigilantly shifting its eyes, did not find the existence of the small snake. Target. Black spotted frog, amphibious, can provide 1 bioenergy point. A mechanical voice rang in Fang Yun's mind, telling him the basic information of the creature in front of him. 1 bioenergy point, not bad. Fang Yun flicked his tongue slightly, staring at the black frog, looking for an opportunity. As time passed, the frog eventually dropped its guard. Fang Yun's muscles instantly tightened, attacking the frog with lightning-like speed. His mouth opened, biting the black spotted frog, not letting it go even as it struggled. Finally, after a minute of trashing, the frog stopped moving. Only then did he release his fangs. As the frog fell into his mouth, he slowly swallowed it, causing a small bulge to raise in his stomach. At the same time, his stomach began to secrete a large amount of strong acidic gastric juice, digesting the black spotted frog that he had just swallowed in a short time. Having finished his meal, Fang Yun rushed towards the pile of rocks on his left, slithering into them. Inside the rock pile was a huge abandoned ant mound. There are no ants left, allowing it to become a temporary hiding place for Fang Yun. He laid down in the nest as he quietly digested the black spotted frog in his stomach. Snakes are very slow to digest, especially snakes that are still in their adolescent stage. However, because of the particularity of Fang Yun himself, in less than an hour, he completely digested the frog. Ring. The host has successfully gained 1 bioenergy. The previous mechanical voice once again sounded in Fang Yun's mind. Hearing this voice, Fang Yun, who had been resting his eyes, opened them to look at the panel in front of himself. Letting out a sigh of relief, Fang Yun said in his mind, "System, open my information panel." A curtain of light appeared in front of him, and on this light curtain was a line of text. Host. Fang Yun. Race. Gray snake variant species. Status. Juvenile period. World. Blue planet, Earth-like planet. Main task. The host taking the role, Gray Snake, must get 10 million reputation points in the world, Blue Planet. Mission period. A Gray Snake life cycle 10 years. Task tip. The host can hunt prey, gain bioenergy and evolve himself, improving his power and ability to gain the required reputation value in the world, Blue Star. If the host does not gain sufficient reputation point before the character, Gray Snake, naturally or accidentally dies, the system will determine that the task has failed and will execute the penalty of completely killing the host, body and soul. Host property list. Not expanded. After browsing the text on the information panel, Fang Yun couldn't help but sigh. It has been 10 days since he came to this world, but he still has an unreal feeling, and in his heart, he is always hoping that this is just a dream and that he will eventually wake up. But every time he looked at the system panel in his mind, he has to recognize the reality. He really did cross over to another world, and most importantly he reincarnated as a snake. Fang Yun, 18 years old, a high school student without any defining characteristic and no bad habits, an average high school student. That's why he doesn't know why this happened to him, why this system chose him. 10 days ago he set off from home, as usual, going to school to attend classes. Unexpectedly, this system appears halfway to school, killing him and taking him directly to this Earth-like planet. On the first day of crossing into this world, Fang Yun's mind was filled with boundless fear and despair. Unlike the excitement of those who cross to new worlds in online novels, he was particularly depressed. After all, crossing means that he can no longer meet his parents, relatives, and friends, surviving alone in this world. Without even mentioning the fact, of all the things that he can reincarnate into, he reincarnated as a snake. In such a state of panic, Fang Yun kept praying in his heart, hoping that God would send him back again. But what he prayed for was not realized. In the end, he could only accept his reality with helplessness, planning on how he could complete the system's main task. Not to mention that this bastard of a system that brought him to this place said that if he died, he would die completely, both body and soul, with no chance of ever reincarnating. Life is better than death. Even if he became a snake, Fang Yun did not want to die so easily. He wants to try to complete the system task. Maybe then he would have a chance to go home in the future. Fang Yun's emotions are very complicated in regards to this system in his mind. On the one hand, this system is the culprit, killing him and then taking him to this broken place, but on the other, he has to rely on this system to survive. This system is called the Universe Adventurer System. As its name implies, it is a system that can take Fang Yun on an adventure throughout the universe. But looking at the information on the system panel, if he wants to survive and possibly go back home, he has to complete the task assigned to him by the system, to earn 10 million reputation points in this world. These so-called reputation points, according to the interpretation of the system, is his fame in this world. The louder his name in the world, the higher his reputation value will be. However, Fang Yun is still an ordinary snake, not to mention earning reputation value. Even if it's simply surviving, it is still very difficult. If I want to complete this task just relying on myself, I don't know when it will be completed. Fortunately, this system provides me with some convenience. In the current world, Fang Yun can gain bioenergy by consuming various prey, and bioenergy allows him to evolve and grow up quickly. 5 days ago, Fang Yun experienced his first evolution, causing his physical attributes to increase linearly. Looking at the last word in the last line of the information panel, after the host attribute list, he said in his mind, "System, expand my properties panel." The next moment, the curtain of light in his mind flickered, and the text refreshed. _ Host property list. Level 2. Bioenergy. 10/15. Once bioenergy is full, the host can evolve. Skill points. 1 rewarded by the system after the evolution, used to activate and upgrade skills. Body length, 20 centimeters. Diameter, 0.7 cm. Strength, 0.1. Defense, 0.05. Speed, 0.2. Agility, 0.2. Spirit, 1.2. Physical strength, 0.5. Skill, none. Reputation value, 0.10 millionths. You don't have any sort of fame in this world. _ Seeing that he only needs 5 bioenergy points to upgrade, Fang Yun couldn't help but cheer up. Once he evolves again, his body properties will certainly increase. In this way, his ability to live in this world will become more solid. Feeling more secure, Fang Yun is no longer anxious or trying to complete the system main task, but strives to let himself evolve. His current place is in a jungle that is inaccessible, or at least in the 10 days after Fang Yun's rebirth, he did not find any signs of humans. In such a jungle, there is certainly no shortage of animals. Fortunately, in the area around his nest, Fang Yun hadn't found any carnivorous beasts yet, but this does not mean that he can take the situation lightly. Because he is too small now. With his current size, even many of the small rodents and animals are his natural enemies, mice, lizards, owls. While going out to hunt, he will likely encounter at least one of these natural enemies of his. Therefore, it is very important to strengthen himself as soon as possible to gain the ability to live in this jungle. Thinking of this, Fang Yun shifted around, wanting to hunt while it was still bright. Slithering forward, he leaves his den to see if he can find other prey. Chapter 2. Finding Prey. Translator. Ymir Moon. Looking out from the layers of leaves, the sun was setting the sky into a deep orange shade. Soon this jungle will usher in a new night. A snake's vision is quite poor, but because of Fang Yun's human soul, he mutated after hatching. Vision, hearing, etc. are similar to humans, and there is also a snake's unique sense of smell and thermal imaging organs. So at this time, he can clearly see the surrounding area without any sort of problem, the ground covered with fallen leaves, the messy grass and tall trees covering the clouds, at least from his perspective. As he observed the surrounding environment, he continuously flicked his tongue, collecting the chemical signals in the air to detect the presence of prey. It is a pity that he didn't find any sort of prey in this area. Fang Yun, disappointed, hanging his head and crawling even further ahead, started to feel somewhat uneasy. He's never roamed this far from his nest. He had gone much further than he expected, and if he encountered danger, he wouldn't be able to quickly escape back into the nest to take refuge. But the desire to eat and evolve forced him to continue to take risks. The black-spotted frog that he previously ate gave him a lot of energy, enough for him to spend 2 or 3 days without eating, but Fang Yun wanted to grow up as soon as possible, so he has to hunt more prey. After moving forward another 100 meters, Fang Yun changed direction and crawled towards the right. He can't risk continuing forward anymore. He is going to establish his hunting zone in this 300-meter radius. Rustle. Suddenly, Fang Yun felt the vibrations of an animal stepping on the ground. Although it was very subtle, snakes are particularly sensitive to vibrations, so the moment Fang Yun felt them, he immediately became alert. He hid his body in a lush bush nearby and peeked through the gap between the leaves, looking at the source of the vibrations. An adult pheasant dragging his long tail behind him as he slowly walked forward, his colorful plumage being particularly eye-catching. Pheasant, omnivore. For plants, they generally like to eat herbaceous plants, seeds, etc. As for meat, they like to eat insects, earthworms, and small amphibians. Fang Yun remembered the knowledge he learned in his last life. Fang Yun's current size is not much different from a large worm. If the pheasant finds me, I am afraid that I will be eaten as a snack. Thinking of this, he curled his body and then hid further into the bushes, trying to make himself look unremarkable, like a stone. The pheasant slowly walked over, his claws sweeping the ground from time to time, turning the fallen leaves on the ground, its sharp beak pecking between the fallen debris. Sometimes it picked up an acorn seed, sometimes it picked up a tender white worm. Fang Yun was very successful in hiding. This pheasant did not find his existence from beginning to end. About 3 minutes later, after the pheasant walked away, the huddled Fang Yun in the bushes slowly relaxed. Slithering out of the bushes, he flicked his tongue and continued to wander around. During his search for prey, Fang Yun also saw many other animals. For example, a creature similar to the black-spotted frog that he had eaten before. This time, the black-spotted frog he met was already an adult, which had great strength, and a body length about 4 or 5 centimeters, too big for him to hunt. If I want to prey on this frog, I am afraid that I have to wait until my next evolution. She. Fang Yun tongue flicked in the air, then shrank it back into his mouth, placing it onto the olfactory receptors inside his mouth, analyzing the chemical signals collected. Suddenly, Fang Yun got excited. This time, he perceived the smell of prey. Fang Yun flicked his tongue in the air several times, determining the direction of the smell, then crawled over there. After moving for a few minutes, he stopped. At the moment, there is a group of dense black spots in front of him constantly moving, a group of ants who are returning to their nest. Under the observation of Fang Yun, almost every worker ant in this ant colony carries a small piece of food. This is not the thing of Fang Yun's focus though. The thing of his focus is a large ant cluster that is tightly tied together, dragging a worm about 5 centimeters long. Target locked, earthworm, insect, can provide 1 bioenergy point. The mechanical voice of the system sounded again in Fang Yun's mind, making him unhesitant in deciding to rob this ant group, directly crawling over, grabbing the worm with his mouth and taking it away. After dragging it a certain distance from the ant group, Fang Yun swallowed it into his stomach. As for the ants, Fang Yun did not care about them. He tried eating them before. The biological energy gained by eating ants is too little, and for a group like this with a large number of ants, if he gets swarmed by them, he may just capsize this already precarious ship. Being devoured alive by a group of ants doesn't sound like a good end, does it? After slithering forward for a distance of more than 10 meters, Fang Yun stopped crawling, then rolled a few times on the grass, removing the ants from his body. Counting this earthworm, I got a total of 2 bioenergy points. This harvest can only be considered a pass. I will go for another look around. If I don't find any other prey, I will go back to the nest. Fang Yun glanced at the sky. At this time, the light had begun to become dim. The sky will probably completely darken in another hour or so. Perhaps because of his past life, he does not like to hunt at night, without mentioning that there are also many dangers at night, owls, mice, and his peers. Therefore, after every hunting trip, Fang Yun will return to his nest to sleep, resting in the night. As the sky continued to darken, Fang Yun sighed helplessly, just as he was about to go back to his nest. Suddenly, his sensitive sense of smell caught a whiff of something special. He carefully screened the direction of the smell, then turning his head in that direction, without any hesitation, he crawled over. 2 minutes later, Fang Yun's body paused, lifting his head slightly towards the direction of a tree branch. Located above the tree branch, there is a bird nest perched there. When he saw the bird's nest, Fang Yun couldn't help but feel a touch of joy, because he smelled the eggs that came out of this bird's nest. The bird nest is only the size of a bowl. Apart from the eggs, there is no other creature. Obviously, the nest owner is looking for food right now. Fang Yun climbed the tree, getting into the nest. Immediately, he saw that in this nest, 4 eggs quietly laid there. Target locked, sparrow eggs, each providing 1 bioenergy point. Chapter 3, begins to evolve. Translator, Ymir Moon. Each egg can provide 1 bioenergy point. Doesn't that mean, as long as I swallow these 4 eggs, I will evolve? Hearing the system's prompt, Fang Yun's mood immediately brightened. These days, because of the pressure of survival, his emotions have always been in a state of depression, only now did he relax a bit. If he evolves again, his physical attributes will leap forward, which is more conducive to his survival in this jungle. Especially his body size. After the previous evolution, his length changed from 10 centimeters to 20 centimeters. After this evolution, his length, how much will it improve? 30 centimeters. Or is it longer? In any case, a larger size can make him look more threatening. If he is unlucky enough to encounter some kind of natural enemy, the larger his size is, the more dangerous he will seem to the other side, making them hesitate whether it's worth risking their lives to hunt him. While thinking about this, Fang Yun opened his mouth and swallowed all 4 sparrow eggs into his belly. The sparrow's nest suddenly became empty. Now that I think about it, I have just eaten the children of another living organism. Once the parents of these eggs come back, I wonder if they will cry in heartbreak. This sounds cruel, but Fang Yun didn't have any sort of guilt. After all, this is the law of the jungle, the strong eat the weak. Maybe he will be eaten as a snack by a bigger bird in the future just like he ate the children of this bird. Without mentioning that in the past 10 days, he swallowed a lot of living things, so he doesn't have the sort of guilt and disgust as he did on the first day. Although he doesn't want to have that kind of cold and unfeeling heart, he is trying his best to adapt himself to this new environment. Everything is for my survival, thought Fang Yun. After swallowing these eggs, Fang Yun quickly climbed out of the bird's nest. If he stays any further, he risks being caught by the bird when it's back. Although the fighting power of sparrows isn't good, his current defense is not that high. After leaving the bird's nest, Fang Yun crawled back to his nest. At this moment, the sky was beginning to darken. The cold wind blew in the jungle, and a lot of fallen leaves were blown. A dry leaf fell on Fang Yun's body, almost scaring him to death. The current Fang Yun mind is particularly nervous. Anything in this forest can scare him. He wants to return to his nest as soon as possible, but after eating the 4 eggs, his body has become very bloated, hence lowering his not-so-fast speed even further. On the road back, Fang Yun discovered a few cockroaches. Each cockroach can give him 0.5 bioenergy point, but now he is already struggling with his bloated body as he is. He doesn't think that his stomach can fit any other thing, without mentioning that with his almost current turtle-like speed, he can hardly catch them. So after thinking about it, he eventually gave up the idea of preying on those few cockroaches. After 7 or 8 minutes of slow crawling, Fang Yun finally returned to his nest. The dark and narrow nest gave Fang Yun an unparalleled sense of security. He finally put down his hanging heart. As in the past, he hid his body in the deepest part of the nest, then quietly waited for the digestion of the earthworm and the 4 sparrow eggs in his stomach. This time, it took about 2 hours for the prey in his stomach to get digested. Ring, the host successfully gained 5 bioenergy point. The mechanical sound of the system sounded in Fang Yun's mind. He snapped him of his reverie, then his eyes immediately brightened, looking forward to the next prompt. Sure enough, the system did not let him wait at all, immediately sending him another prompt. Ring, detecting that the host has enough bioenergy, the host evolutionary conditions are reached. This evolution will take 10 minutes, the host should ensure the safety of the surrounding environment. Do you want to undergo this evolution? Hearing the last prompt of the system, without hesitation, he immediately said in his mind, evolve. The moment Fang Yun thought of evolving, a warm feeling filled his body, making him very comfortable. But as time passed, it was becoming hotter and hotter, eventually becoming boiling hot. His body getting hotter and hotter made Fang Yun very uncomfortable. he couldn't help but rub his body on the ground. The pain was becoming so intense that he began to scream. After 10 minutes of grueling pain, this evolution finally ended. It's finally over. Fang Yun let out a sigh of relief. His body seemed to have unloaded a heavy burden and became a lot lighter. Thinking back to that pain, he could not help but sigh at the difficulty of being a snake. It's difficult to hunt prey to get bioenergy, but when he finally gathered enough bioenergy to evolve, he experienced the pain of being burned by flames. If his will didn't become stronger than before, his consciousness would have been destroyed by this pain in the previous evolution. Slowly calming his mood down, he crawled around in the nest. He felt that his body seemed to have become more powerful, making him let out a sigh of relief. Suddenly, he felt that he touched something with his tail, something very frail. With the last experience, Fang Yun immediately knew that what his tail has touched is the skin that he shed after this evolution. I was hatched for about 10 days, but I already shedded twice. I'm probably the only being in nature who did this. Fang Yun thought, strangely proud. Shaking his head and throwing these weird thoughts out of his head, he called the system panel in his mind, ready to look at the changes this evolution brought. Ring, the host's second evolution was successful. The level is upgraded to level 3, rewarding 2 skill points. Detecting that the host has enough skill points, does the host want to see the available skill? Fang Yun just opened the system panel and these 2 messages popped up, surprising him. After reading the messages he was immediately overjoyed. After his first evolution, he was particularly interested in skills. Seeing that this system is capable of traversing universes, he expected something like fireballs or wind blades. However, because his skill points are not enough, he couldn't see what skills he could learn, so he can only look at the skills column longingly. Unexpectedly, after this evolution, his skill points finally met the requirements. Without any hesitation, Fang Yun immediately said to the system his mind. Check the currently available skills. The light curtain in front of Fang Yun refreshed, showing him another text. The current skill points can be used to activate the following 2 skills. Discoloration Camouflage. Active skill. Choosing this skill makes the host have the ability to change his color according to the surrounding environment, achieving the effect of camouflage. Each upgrade consumes 3 skill points, current level, 0/5. Fatal Venom. Active skills. Choosing this skill, the host will grow a venom blader, enabling the host to use venom to kill opponents, thus increasing the host attack power. Each upgrade consumes 3 skill points, current level, 0/5. Looking at these 2 skills, Fang Yun was slightly stunned. These 2 skills are somewhat different from what he expected, only physical skills, which made him a little disappointed. But then, he cheered up again. Sighing secretly, he is too greedy. Although it's only a physical skill, these skills are definitely good for him now. After cheering up, he carefully read the detailed description of these 2 skills, deliberating about which skill to choose. To be honest, these 2 skills are exactly what he needs now. Camouflage will allow him to avoid natural enemies and increase his chances of successfully hunting prey. The venom can increase his attack power. However, his current skill points are simply not enough to learn 2 skills, he can only choose one. After thinking for a while, Fang Yun made up his mind. Activate the skill, Fatal Venom. This is not his hasty decision, but he feels that in the current situation, what he needs more is a type of attack skills. After all, to grow up as soon as possible, he must hunt more prey, and after getting the Fatal Venom skills, if he accidentally encounters his natural enemies in the future, he won't be so helpless. More importantly, the color of his scales already provides a certain camouflage. So he doesn't the camouflage skill for now. Immediately instructing the system in his mind, Fang Yun felt an itch in his mouth and neck. After a moment, the itching finally stopped. He felt that his fangs were somewhat different, as if hollow from the inside. Fang Yun opened his mouth. He had a feeling that he could release the venom from his fangs as long as he thought about it. Of course, he also perceives that the amount of venom in his blader is not much, the toxicity probably isn't that high either. But I believe that as long as the level of this skill is raised in the future, the amount and toxicity of venom will certainly be improved. After selecting the skill, Fang Yun let out a sigh of relief and then looked at the change in his various attributes on his property panel. Chapter 4. Tree Lizard. Translator. Ymir Moon, _ Host Property List. Level 3. Bioenergy. 0/30. Skill Points. 0. Body Length. 35 centimeters. Diameter. 1.2 centimeters. Strength, 0.2. Defense, 0.1. Speed, 0.4. Agility, 0.7. Spirit, 1.5. Physical strength, 1.0. Skills, Fatal Venom 1/5. Reputation value, 0.10 millionths. Underscore. Sure enough, compared with before, his physical attributes have a comprehensive improvement. Fang Yun's most concerned body length and diameter have a particularly obvious improvement. His body length has changed from 20 centimeters to 35 centimeters, almost doubling. Furthermore, his diameter also reached 1.2 centimeters, and now swallowing those 2 or 3 centimeters prey should be no problem. As soon as he thought of prey, Fang Yun felt that he was hungry. In the last evolution, he discovered that after he evolves, his body's energy will be consumed, like 4 or 5 days without eating. Now that his body strength has more than doubled, he wants to find prey to try his power and new skills. However, this thought just appeared and was annihilated by him. Low-key development, don't take risks. In such a crisis-ridden jungle, being low-key is the key to live longer. Trying my strength and skills can wait until tomorrow. Now is night, where danger is everywhere. I should conserve my strength and energy and go hunting tomorrow. Thinking of this, he closed his eyes and slowly fell into a dream. When Fang Yun opened his eyes again, the cave had become brighter, and the hunger scent from his stomach is much stronger than last night. He lazily got up, twisting his lower body, feeling that his body was a little stiff and particularly slow to crawl. Snakes are cold-blooded animals. If the outside temperature is too low, their blood circulation will become slow, causing the reaction of their body to their nerves will become dull. So every morning, Fang Yun will sneak out to bask in the sun, let his body temperature rise, and let his body function return to a normal level as soon as possible. Swinging his head, Fang Yun crawled out of the cave. He felt that the blood in his body was getting colder and colder, with the addition of hunger scent from his stomach, almost driving him crazy. I must be one of the most miserable people that crossed over to New Worlds. Fang Yun thought tearfully. He must let his body temperature rise as soon as possible. Climbing out of the nest, the warm sunlight sprinkled on his body. Fang Yun felt a burst of refreshment, almost letting out a moan. He did not go to the places more exposed to sunlight, such as the stone pile. He just stayed at the entrance to the hole, so that if he felt that danger was close, he could get into the nest for the first time. Basking in the sun, Fang Yun felt that his body temperature began to slowly rise, and his stiff body began to become flexible over time. While basking in the sun, he did not let his guard down, flicking his tongue from time to time in the air to detect the presence of possible prey or predators. His small round eyes are also looking around. On a tree in his right side, an unknown bird in a tree is combing his feathers, looks like a fat, juicy meal. But now he does not have the ability to kill the bird, so he can only look at that bird while drooling. On his left side, a palm-sized spider is squatting in the center of its own webs, waiting for the arrival of prey. Not far from his nest, a few fertile grass buds drilled out of the ground, attracting several locusts looking for food. Fang Yun regained his gaze from there and changed his position, continuing to lie down. Time passed by, and about 5 minutes later, the bird that was combing his hair flew away. At this time, Fang Yun's body temperature increased a lot, the blood flow rate returned to normal, and the body returned to being flexible again. In addition, the temperature in the jungle began to rise, and Fang Yun did not intend to continue to sunbathe here. It's time to pray. Fang Yun lifted his head and then prepared to crawl toward the bushes, but at this time, he heard a rustle in there and looked at the front with vigilance. I saw that at this time, in the bushes 3 meters away from him, a cluster of grass was slightly disturbed, followed by a lizard about 25 centimeters long slowly crawling out, then staring straight at him. Target locked. Tree lizard, reptile, schemata, can provide 10 points of bioenergy. The sound of the system sounded in his mind, but Fang Yun didn't pay attention to it this time. His attention has been completely attracted by this lizard. This guy actually came here. Fang Yun raised his head and raised his guard. This is not the first time he met the tree lizard in front of him. When he went out to hunt 3 days ago, he saw it under a big tree 300 meters away, and passed by him. Because the guy had a small wound on his left lip, Fang Yun immediately recognized his identity after he saw him. Lizards are omnivorous animals. They may also prey on small snakes when they meet them. Plus this tree lizard is an adult, and he has just evolved, plus he is extremely hungry. His power is definitely not as good as this tree lizard. Therefore, when he saw the other party, he turned away and slipped quietly. Just he did not think that he would actually meet this tree lizard here. Hey, hey, tree lizard flicked his scarlet tongue, and slowly approached at Fang Yun's side. Seeing it like this, Fang Yun could not help but think. Does it want to prey on me? A thought emerged from his mind, which made him shocked, and the body involuntarily crawled backward. No, it seems that it wants to grab my nest. Fang Yun's thought. The lizard hissed at him, and the color of his body became brighter, but he never attacked him. It looks like it's trying to be intimidating. Thinking of this, Fang Yun acted and immediately hissed back at the lizard. If the lizard really intended to snatch his nest, he does not intend to back down. Here is his territory. If it's occupied by this lizard, he will become a homeless snake. In such a crisis-ridden jungle, if there is no hiding place. God knows when he was sleeping in some corner, he was eaten by some carnivore as a snack. Hey, Fang Yun raised his head a little. His power and agility may not match this lizard, but don't forget, last night, he had activated his first skill. Fatal Venom. Perhaps, I can try the power of Fatal Venom on this lizard. Thinking of this, Fang Yun's gaze looking at the lizard has also become aggressive. Perhaps this is a chance sent to the door. Moreover, this tree lizard can provide him with 10 bio-energy. I don't know if my venom can poison this tree lizard. In the mind of Fang Yun, such a question emerged, and at this time, he began to actively crawl towards the opposite lizard. The lizard, apparently, did not seem to expect Fang Yun to act in this way. He stayed in the same place for a while, but his throat became more bulging and seemed to hesitate whether it was retreating or attacking. At this time, the distance between them is almost half a meter. Fang Yun feels that this distance is enough for him to launch an offensive. It's now. Suddenly, Fang Yun's decided it's enough, and the muscles of his body tightened to the extreme. He was ready to attack the tree lizard on the opposite side. However, it is at this time. Hey! A rush of empty air rang. At the same time, from the corner of his eye, there is a black shadow like a meteorite falling toward the ground. Without any hesitation, Fang Yun ran towards his nest. Chapter 5. Natural Enemies. Translator. Ymir Moon. Fang Yun escaped into his nest, then turned his head and looked out of the entrance. The shadow fell into the opposite grass. At the same time, a dull bang sounded. This bang, like a hammer, hammered in the heart of Fang Yun, making his body soft. His body is literally shivering in fear at this time. What is that? Fang Yun's heart thumps like crazy, while his eyes stared straight at the opposite side of the grass that had been pulled out of a large hole. Suddenly, a big black bird stood up from the grass. That is, eagle. Fang Yun's heart skipped a beat, becoming shocked as he stared at the eagle. At the moment, opposite to him, a big bird is standing. Its feathers are dark brown, its body is long, and its height is almost reaching a meter. The bird's beak is like an iron hook, and its eyes are extremely sharp. Obviously, this is an eagle. Originally, he was grateful that there were no strong carnivores in this area, and even his own kind was rarely seen, but now it seems that his initial thoughts are very wrong. This area has its own owner, that is the eagle opposite. Eagle, a raptor, is a complete carnivore. It only eats meat. Its usual menu consists of catching mice, snakes, hares or birds. Big ones can even prey on goats, sheep, and deers. Of course, the eagle in front of him is not strong enough to capture animals of the level of sheep and deers. But nonetheless, for Fang Yun, this eagle is extremely deadly. At the thought of having such a raptor on his side, Fang Yun shuddered. Maybe on a certain day, would he be the prey of this eagle like that hare? This is very likely, even more likely that when he was sunbathing at the entrance of his nest, the eagle might have found himself. The eagle's vision is particularly good. You can find small animals on the ground at an altitude of up to a kilometer. The reason why he did not become the prey of this eagle was that his position was close to his nest, and his size is much smaller than that of the hare. However, Fang Yun needs to go out to hunt. If he is found by him in an open place, it is estimated that the latter will not mind treating him as a dessert. Whoosh! At this time, the eagle in the opposite grass waved its wings, the weeds around it swayed. At the same time, the eagle flew out of the grass with some difficulty. Under his iron claws, a gray fat rabbit hangs softly, dropping thick drops of blood. Seeing this scene, Fang Yun's heart became heavier, and he had a feeling of sadness and depression. In the beginning, upon becoming a snake, Fang Yun has always said to himself that is a snake. He has surely a lot of natural enemies. But when he really saw his natural enemy, all the psychological defenses and preparation that had been done before has collapsed, and the fear and despair couldn't stop flooding his heart. Sure enough, it's still good being a human. Fang Yun couldn't help but smile wryly. When he was a human being, he didn't feel anything. He even thought that the days of going to school every day were too boring, and he thought that if he could become an animal, such as a bird or the like, it would be great to live freely. But now that I have become an animal, I don't feel any sense of freedom, all there is only the pressure of survival. I really hope to grow up as soon as possible. Fang Yun also thought, if he really grows up and become the top of the food chain, there would be no need to worry about his life every day. Thinking about it, when I have a body size of 10 meters or even dozens of meters, in nature, which animal would dare to provoke me? At that time, it would already be good not to bully others. Hey, However, at this time, a screeching sound interrupted Fang Yun's thoughts. After he paused, he slowly climbed out of the nest and immediately looked at the direction the scream was coming from. Looking, he couldn't help but be amazed. I saw a lizard stuck in the crack of the stone on his left side, struggling to get out. And this lizard, isn't it the tree lizard that wanted to snatch his own territory? Seeing this funny scene, Fang Yun couldn't help but want to laugh, even the heavy feeling that the eagle brought to him was diluted a lot. This idiot is estimated to have climbed over the rock pile when he fled before, and accidentally fell in the rock crack. Looking at the constantly struggling tree lizard, Fang Yun spit out his tongue and then crawled over to him. This guy actually dared to grab his sight. Of course, he could not let him go, let alone that this tree lizard would provide himself with 10 bioenergy. I originally planned to use this tree lizard to try the power of my venom, but now it seems that it is not necessary anymore. At the moment, it is stuck in the crack of the stone, completely incapable of action, struggling to free himself. With the approach of Fang Yun, the tree lizard struggled even more, but its lower half was stuck in the cracks of the stone. It's no easy task to get out of there. Hey, At this time, it made a burst of sharper humming, and the color of the color scale became more and more vivid. It seems that at this time, I still want to scare Fang Yun. Fang Yun did not pay attention to it. When he came to the tree lizard, he bit his neck, and then the body was coiled around the lizard. The muscles in his body began to contract, trying his best to crush the tree lizard and pulling him out of the cracks. After 2 or 3 tries, the tree lizard was pulled out. The abdomen of the lizard was wounded heavily. After struggling for a moment, the lizard stopped moving. This made Fang Yun somewhat surprised. He originally wanted to try his own coiling technique, but tree lizard has quickly died. But now that this lizard has dead, it saved him a lot of effort. Fang Yun starts from the head and swallows the entire lizard. His body has gradually swelled, making hard to crawl. Without any hesitation, Fang Yun hurried to his nest and drilled in it. Fortunately, the nest is next to him. If he ate it outside, it will be difficult to come back. Back in the nest, Fang Yun immediately lied down and waited for the digestion of the tree lizard in his stomach. After eating this tree lizard, he can no longer hunt again today. Chapter 6. Rainstorm is coming. Translator. Ymir Moon. After swallowing the tree lizard, Fang Yun laid quietly in his nest and rested. This time, after almost 2 hours, he digested the tree lizard in his stomach and got 10 bioenergy points. On this day, he did not go hunting again. He needs a little time to digest the influence that the eagle brought to him. He didn't know if the eagle had accidentally passed by here today, or intends to stay here for a long time. If it is the latter, he needs to be more careful when he goes out to hunt. Eagles are very difficult to guard against. They usually fly at an altitude of up to a kilometer. It is impossible to notice them, and once it is discovered by the other party, the eagle will swoop down from that height and use the impact force to insert their claws into the body of their prey. With his own small body, Fang Yun does not feel that he is able to withstand the claws of this eagle. Originally, he still felt that he has grown to more than 30 centimeters. It should be time for him to show his talents. But now, it seems that he has to continue to act low-key. Underneath a eucalyptus tree that could be held by one person, Fang Yun looked up and watched the surrounding movements. The area where he is currently located has very dense bushes and can easily cover him up. The generous canopy blocks the sky, so you can avoid attacks from the sky. 3 days have passed since the day when he encountered the eagle. During these 3 days, Fang Yun still went out to hunt as usual, but he was more vigilant than before, and every time he went out to hunt, he went to places with a dense canopy. In short, resolutely do not go to the open grass. As a result, his predation efficiency has been greatly reduced. After all, there are many insects such as crickets and grasshoppers in those grasslands. In the past, these insects provided him with quite a bit of biological energy. Fortunately, his body size is larger than before, and he can prey on small animals such as adult black-spotted frogs. In this area, the number of black-spotted frogs is not small. In 3 days, he captured 5 young frogs and 2 adult frogs, giving him a total of 9 bioenergy. In addition, he also captured a small gecko of about 5 centimeters that provided him with 3 bioenergy. Plus the tree lizard that was eaten 3 days ago, Fang Yun's accumulated bioenergy has reached 22 points. System, bring up my properties panel. Fang Yun whispered, and at the moment when his voice sounded, there was a light curtain in his mind. Host property list. Rating. 3. Bioenergy. 22/30. Points. 0. Body length. 35 centimeters. Diameter. 1.2 centimeters. Strength. 0.2. Defense. 0.1. Speed. 0.4. Agility. 0.7. Spirit. 1.5. Physical strength. 1.0. Skills. Deadly venom 1/5. Reputation value. 0.10 millionths. Looking at the column of bioenergy in the attribute list, Fang Yun's mouth was uplifted. In 3 days, he harvested a total of 22 bioenergy, and now he can upgrade again with only 8 points of bio. This speed is not unpleasant. Although because of the eagle, he did not dare to go to the open grass to prey on insects, but only by hunting those small animals, his biological energy accumulated rather quickly. Of course, if he has preyed on insects in those grasses as before, perhaps he has now reached the conditions for upgrading. Insects provide less bioenergy, but they are more numerous and easier to prey on. During these 3 days, the eagle appeared twice again, and Fang Yun also saw it hunting once, and this time Fang Yun saw it grabbing a snake more than 1 meter long from the ground. Fang Yun didn't see the type of snake clearly, but when he saw his own kind became food on the eagle's mouth, the threat level of that eagle raised a lot in his mind. Not to mention that he became more determined to not hunt in open areas. As for why the eagle did not appear previously, it may be because its hunting range is too large. Perhaps in the past, this eagle was hunting in other areas, but as the prey there reduced, he changed spots and came here to hunt. Converging his thoughts, Fang Yun passed through the layers of leaves and then looked at the sky. At this time, the sun was already setting, it's already late afternoon. This can't be helped, according to Fang Yun's observation, this eagle hunts in the mornings. In order to be as safe as possible, he compressed the hunting time to the afternoon. Thinking of this, Fang Yun ground his teeth, secretly hating the eagle. When he grew up, he must find a way to swallow that goddamn eagle. Taking a deep breath, Fang Yun twisted his body unnaturally. He felt that the air today was a little moist, giving him a heavy of sulking. Is it going to rain? A glimmer of light flashed in his mind. Fang Yun was stunned. It's no wonder that today's humming sounds in the woods have become noisier. And he also found that there were still a lot of insects flying in the air, and several crickets hovered in the air above his head. Seeing this scene, Fang Yun was slightly stunned. It seems that it is really going to rain. He has been in this world for more than 10 days, and it's not the first time it rained. It's normal to rain in the forest. However, what he is worried about is that the heavy rain continues for several days. In that kind of weather, it is obvious that the difficulty of hunting will increase. I should hurry up and try to hunt on as much prey as possible today. With such an idea in mind, Fang Yun crawled straight ahead. Probably because of the upcoming rain, there are also a lot of frogs in the trees. They are also preying on insects. Frogs have a particularly quick response speed. As long as insects enter the range of their attack, they rarely escape. Along the way, Fang Yun saw several black-spotted frogs and golden-lined frogs, but he could not catch them. They all escaped from under his eyelids. In addition, he also saw a tiger frog, which is more than 10 centimeters in size. This frog is estimated to be half a pound. I don't know what taste does this tiger frog have. He has eaten several small frogs like the black-spotted frog, but he has never eaten a large frog, like the tiger frog. This kind of frog is too powerful, plus the speed of jumping is extremely fast. It's not an easy prey. At this time, a black-spotted frog jumped right in front of him. This black-spotted frog did not find the existence of Fang Yun and actually took the initiative to jump straight in front of him. Fang Yun certainly will not let go of this opportunity, bit the black-spotted frog directly, and then swallowed it into his belly. Chapter 7. Wildcat. Translator. Ymir Moon. Once he swallowed this black-spotted frog, Fang Yun couldn't help showing a satisfied look. This black-spotted frog has matured up and can provide him with 2 bioenergy points. Only 10 minutes after coming out and there is such a harvest, which is a good sign. In this way, maybe he can capture enough prey to start his 3rd evolution today. Great, hope that I can get 3 more adult frogs today. Fang Yun thought excitedly, while his body continued to wander around the trees, his eyes were sweeping around, looking for small animals that he can prey on. Maybe his luck has come to an end because along the way, he saw several frogs again, but they all jumped past him, he didn't even have a chance to try to hunt them. Besides, he also met a small gecko. But similarly, the little gecko ran away after seeing him. In addition, Fang Yun also saw a few flies and other small insects, swaying slowly in front of him, but as they can't bring him any bioenergy points. He didn't even bother to try, simply letting them go. After more than half an hour, Fang Yun still hasn't found anything, but he was not in a hurry. After becoming a snake, his temperament changed, becoming colder and calculating in contrast to his cheerful self when he was still a human. Finally, after searching for more than an hour, he found a frog near a clear stream. Target locked. Green frog, amphibious, can provide 2 bioenergy. When he saw the frog in front of him, Fang Yun couldn't help getting excited, but then he pressed his excitement, making sure to muffle his movement so that he doesn't disturb the frog. This frog has matured, with a length of 4 or 5 centimeters. At this moment, it's quietly crouching on a piece of green moss, blending with the environment. Without looking closely, it's easy to ignore its existence. Even Fang Yun used infrared view before perceiving its position. Fang Yun slowly squirmed, crawling straight toward the frog, because the frog was facing the opposite direction, plus Fang Yun is moving very slowly, so for a while, that frog did not find his existence. After almost a minute's slow crawling, Fang Yun was only 20 centimeters away from the frog. This position is the best place for him to launch an attack. Hey! Fang Yun's muscles contracted, then shot like a sharp arrow, his mouth was gaping wide, biting the frog in one bite. Only then did frog react and began to struggle fiercely. But at this moment its body has already been hooked by the sharp teeth of Fang Yun, and it is impossible to break free. The pain in its body, plus the panic that it's being preyed on, caused it to make a sharp humming sound. Fang Yun was unmoved, his 2 rows of teeth were hooked tightly to the frog. Gradually, the resistance of the frog was getting smaller and smaller, and finally, its vitality dissipated. Making sure the frog heart stopped beating, Fang Yun began to slowly devour the frog into his stomach. After a while, Fang Yun swallowed the frog completely into his stomach. Fang Yun's stomach swelled up. He moved his body slightly and seemed to reminisce the taste of that frog. I have really changed, lamented Fang Yun. When I was a human, I couldn't even imagine eating raw food, let alone a dead frog. Thought Fang Yun, maybe becoming a snake has really changed my thoughts. Taking a deep breath, Fang Yun threw these thoughts to the back of his head. What I should think about is how to upgrade, becoming powerful enough, then thinking about how to gain enough reputation value, before I die, thought Fang Yun. Let's make a small goal, becoming an apex predator, so as to not fear any animal on this planet, thought Fang Yun. Another successful hunt made him greatly encouraged. He is more confident that he can capture enough prey to upgrade today. However, he did not stay too much in this place, and immediately dragged his bloated body and continued to crawl. In the next period of time, Fang Yun was like receiving God help, swallowed 2 earthworms, 2 black-spotted frogs, plus the green frog. That means that he already got 7 bioenergy points. It is worth mentioning that the mature green frog and the 2 black-spotted frogs that he had swallowed have already been digested, successfully acquiring 4 bioenergy points. In addition, after all the frogs were digested, his belly became flat, meaning that he can eat a few more preys. Fang Yun glanced at the sky. "'Tis already late afternoon, it will become dark in a few hours." He had enough time to hunt a few more preys. Well, there seems to be a golden frog over there. Fang Yun's eyes shined brightly. Right in front of him, there was a frog lying not far from the bushes, his belly bulging, and he seemed to be preying on insects. Haha, this golden frog is also an adult. As long as I swallow this frog, I will have enough points to upgrade. Fang Yun became happy, a smile creeping on his face, then began to slowly crawl towards the frog. There is some distance between him and the golden frog, but it doesn't matter, he has the patience to slowly crawl, and the closer he gets, the slower and quieter he gets. TCHH. However, at this time, a black shadow rushed from the right bushes, slamming the golden frog straight to the ground, and then looking over to Fang Yun. Fang Yun, who was crawling over to the golden frog, was shocked and quickly looked at the black shadow that was facing him. Boom. However, when he saw the true appearance of the black shadow on the opposite side, his body trembled fiercely, his instincts are telling him to run, and a sense of fear rose from his heart. Wildcat. The shadow that appeared in front of him is a wildcat. Wildcats, which feed on rodents, insects, small amphibians, and birds, count as one of the natural enemies of snakes. Looking at the opposite wildcat who was looking at himself, Fang Yun had the urge to swear. He was always careful, but he still encountered such trouble. Ring, target lock, wildcat, feline, carnivorous, can provide 150 bioenergy points. System your uncle. When he heard the sound of the system in his mind, Fang Yun couldn't help but swear in his mind, what sh*t can provide 150 bioenergy points. I should thank God if I wasn't eaten by it. The opposite wildcat is a little bigger than a normal adult cat. It is about 40 centimeters in length, but its eyes are much sharper than a domestic cat. At this moment, the wildcat caught the golden frog and is biting its head, but his eyes are staring straight at Fang Yun. Damn, this beast is really treating me as prey. Fang Yun frowned. From the eyes of this wildcat, he read a dangerous message. What to do? What to do? Fang Yun's brain is running fast. Although the situation is extremely critical at this moment, he did not panic, but he thought clearly and looked for countermeasures. I have poisonous fangs. However, the wildcat has great agility and the ghost knew if he could bite it. And even if I bite the other party, when would the venom act? If I was killed by the wildcat and was in the process of being eaten. Only then does venom works. Then it won't make any sense whether the poison worked or not. So, I can't confront it positively. While Fang Yun was thinking of countermeasures, the wildcat opposite him moved. Chapter 8. Accident. Translator. Ymir Moon. Meow. The wildcat opposite sprinted, followed by a high jump, attacking Fang Yun with his sharp claws. Damn, don't think I'm easy prey. Seeing that the wildcat launched an attack, Fang Yun couldn't help swearing, he can't beat it, neither he can run, he can only fight, seeking a chance to escape or even counterattack during the battle. Although the wildcat is a huge threat for him, it's not like he doesn't have any chance to win. After all, in this snake body, there is the soul of a person, his IQ can slam this wildcat several streets. And he also has his own attack weapon, poison. Of course, I can't collide head-on with this wildcat. To take it out I have to attack its weak points, such as its eyes and nose. While thinking about countermeasures in his mind, his body didn't halt, twisting his body, dodging the wildcat claws that were coming straight towards his head. Immediately, he jerked his head up, his muscles tightened, rushing straight towards the eyes of the wildcat. At the same time, sharp fangs drilled out of his mouth, his venom ready to make this cat regret even thinking about attacking him. Suddenly, Fang Yun's pupil suddenly shrank, because, from his point of view, he could see the whole body of this wildcat. On the hind legs of this wildcat, there was a shocking scar, probably scratched by some type of claws. Just thinking for a moment, the image of the eagle appeared in Fang Yun's mind. Ha ha ha, God is really helping me. Fang Yun couldn't help but feel happy. It's no wonder that the actions of this wildcat seemed a bit cumbersome. It turned out to be hurt, and it looks like the injury is not light. Meow. The wildcat did not seem to expect Fang Yun to actively attack him, scaring him to jump back. At the same time, in midair, he slammed down his hind legs towards Fang Yun. Bang! Fang Yun's head was slammed, falling headfirst to the ground. Fang Yun flinched in pain. Motherfucker is expected of a feline, this agility is not blowing. However, such thoughts flashed in his mind instantly. Fang Yun did not hesitate in the slightest, resisting the pain in his body, he contracted his muscles again, ejecting like an arrow, flying straight towards the wildcat. At the same time, he directed the fangs in his mouth, straight at the wildcat's eyes, directly spraying 2 venom streams. Hiss! 2 venom streams emerged from the fangs of Fang Yun, rushing straight towards the wildcat eyes like 2 water arrows. Meow! The wildcat had just landed. After seeing this scene, he jumped again trying to dodge the venom stream. Just as he seemed like he was going to succeed, Suddenly, his hind legs tingled, causing his jump to be not as high as he expected. This caused the venom to be shot directly into his left eye. Meow! The wild cat sent a big screech. After landing, he directly twisted his body and fled to the distance. Fang Yun noticed big drops of blood falling from the cat leg. The wound on the hind leg of this wild cat was torn open, causing a lot of blood to flow out of its wound. The left eye of this wild cat was blinded by my venom, and with its hind leg wound splitting, I am afraid that it could not be saved. Its future survival will become extremely difficult. However, this thought just flashed through Fang Yun's mind and he threw it aside. If he didn't use the venom to blind the wild cat eyes. At this moment, it's very likely that he has already become food in this wild cat mouth. The law in the jungle is like this: you live, I die. The mood of Fang Yun slowly calmed, returning to normal. The previous high-intensity activities caused a sense of pain in his muscles and a headache because of overclocking his brain. It's worth mentioning that his belly is empty, he has already digested the previous prey. Let's find a place to recover, thought Fang Yun. Without any further hesitation, he rushed out to the bushes, searching for a place he can rest in and recover. After almost half an hour of search, while crawling under a big tree, his eyes suddenly brightened. Because at the moment, under the thick tree roots in front of him, there is actually a tree hole. Well, I don't know if there is a master in this tree hole. Is it a snake hole or a rat hole? Fang Yun flicked his tongue, trying to find if this hole has a master. After a moment, his eyes lit up. There was indeed a strange smell in this tree hole, but it was not from his kind. But, mice. More importantly, he found more than one smell coming from this tree hole. Without any hesitation, Fang Yun drilled into this tree hole. This tree hole is much narrower than his ant nest, plus a lot of twists and turns. Occasionally there is a tree root from the top of the hole narrowing this narrow hole even more. After a while, Fang Yun finally reached the deepest part of the tree hole. Skeek! From the opposite side, a sharp scream sounded. There is no light here, but Fang Yun's thermal imaging organ clearly saw the opposite situation. 4 thumb-sized creatures are squeezing together, trembling, sending a tweet from time to time. Target locked, young rats, mammal creature, rodent family, each providing 2 bioenergy points. Hearing the sound of the system, Fang Yun acted with no hesitation. He crawled straight toward the 4 young rats. Seeming to feel the danger nearing, the 4 young rats made a scream of uneasiness. Soon, Fang Yun came to the 4 young rats. Ignoring their pitiful crying sounds, he swallowed them one by one. Immediately, his empty stomach bulged again, and a feeling of fullness rose, giving Fang Yun a very pleasant feeling. Fang Yun twisted his body, feeling strong excitement. I didn't expect that. I just wanted to find a place to rest. As a result, I got 8 bioenergy points, thought Fang Yun gleefully. Previously he already got 7 bioenergy points, and the next evolution needed just 1 more point. Now that I swallowed 4 young rats when they are digested later, I can get 8 bioenergy points, which more than meets the requirement to evolve. Thinking of this, Fang Yun quietly lies in this tree hole, waiting for the digestion of the young rats in his stomach. After about 2 hours, the 4 young rats in his stomach were completely digested. Not even a second later, the mechanical sound of the system sounded in Fang Yun's mind. Ring, the host successfully got 8 bioenergy points. Get enough bioenergy and the host evolutionary conditions are reached. This evolution will take 10 minutes, asking the host to ensure the safety of the surrounding environment. Do you want to undergo this evolution? Hearing the sound of the system, a smile couldn't help but creep on Fang Yun's mouth, and immediately said in his mind, evolve. Chapter 9. Third Evolution. Translator. Ymir Moon. Evolve. Fang Yun said in his mind. At the same time, he converges his mood and waits quietly. After a moment of silence, a warm stream grows in his body. But then, as before, his body gradually getting hotter and hotter, subconsciously wriggling with restlessness, suffering from great pain. But what makes Fang Yun somewhat amazed is that his pain tolerance seems to have improved a lot. Even if he feels that his body is burning, that being extremely painful, but his mind doesn't seem to be on the verge of collapse like last time he evolved. Now that I think about it, I probably understand. This should be the result of the improvement of my mental strength. After 10 minutes of suffering, the burning sensation slowly faded. Fang Yun let out a sigh of relief, feeling that his body is a lot better. Twisting his lower body, feeling the growing body strength, he couldn't help but be excited. With enough power, he can also try to develop the main characteristic of a python. Python constriction. Before swallowing his prey, pythons will wrap around the prey first, squeezing it, causing it to suffocate and then slowly swallow it. Of course, if the python's power is large enough and their constriction skills are good enough, the bones of the prey can be broken, thereby breaking their internal organs and killing them in a short time. Although he has fangs, the amount of venom in his gland is limited. If he encounters more than one opponent at the same time, he can use constriction to deal with them. In addition, although this deadly constriction is inherited by pythons, it also requires frequent practice to improve its proficiency. When I saw the animal world in my past life, I also saw many times when pythons were wrapping around the prey, but because of the wrapping technique wasn't good enough, the result was that the prey slipped away. Thought Fang Yun. After thinking for a while, Fang Yun stopped thinking about that and then called the system in his mind, causing a light curtain to appear in his mind. But at the moment when the light curtain appeared, 2 notifications immediately popped up. Ring, the host's 3rd evolution was successful, the level was upgraded to level 4, rewarding 3 skill points. Ring, detected that there are 3 skill points available. Currently, there are 2 skills available for upgrading. Is it viewed? When I saw these 2 notifications, Fang Yun couldn't help showing a smile. He values his size extremely, but he also values his skills. View available skills. Fang Yun said softly in his mind. The light curtain in his mind was refreshed and replaced with another message. The current skill points can be used to practice the following 2 skills. Discoloration camouflage. Active skills. Choosing this skill, the body skin color will change into a color similar to the surrounding environment according to the instructions of the host. Each upgrade consumes 3 points. Current level, 0/5. Fatal venom. Active skills. Choosing this skill, you will grow to a fangtooth, with which you can use venom to kill your opponent. The attack power will improve. Each upgrade consumes 3 points. Current level, 1/5. Looking at the text on the light curtain, Fang Yun became speechless. He thought that there will be new skills. The result is that all there is these 2 skills. Now that I think about it, these 2 skills should be the basic skills. If I want to activate more advanced skills, I have to accumulate more points. However, after thinking about it, Fang Yun doesn't intend to leave these 3 skill points but use it directly. Only when he is still alive, skill points are useful. He needs to improve his combat power now, so he did not hesitate to spend the 3 points on the Fatal Venom skill he had activated before. The Fatal Venom skill level has been successfully upgraded. Rating, 2/5. After the mechanical sound of the system sounded, Fang Yun immediately felt a tingling sensation in his fangs and venom gland, causing his venom gland to become bigger, and the venom that was consumed before was replenished. In addition, his fangs have become longer, stronger and sharper. I don't know where my current venom toxicity can be ranked compared to other venomous snakes. Fang Yun thought. This world is a kind of Earth-like planet, probably a parallel universe, and the species are roughly the same as the species on Earth. On Earth, the most poisonous snake is the inland taipan from Australia, followed by other venomous snakes including black mambas and cobras. In addition, some subspecies of sea snakes are also highly venomous, even more so than their terrestrial counterpart. For example, the faint-banded sea snake is not only the most venomous sea snake but also the most venomous snake in the world, a 100-time more venomous than any other snake including the inland taipan. According to Fang Yun's guess, after he upgraded the Fatal Venom skill to full level, his toxicity is estimated to be similar to the most poisonous snake in the world, perhaps even higher. Of course, this is only Fang Yun's guess. What would be the specific situation? That needs him to slowly explore later. Gently shaking his head, Fang Yun put away the distracting thoughts in his mind, and then said, "System, call up my property panel." After his voice fell, a light curtain appeared in his mind. Host property list. Level 4. Bioenergy 7/90. Skill points 0. Body length 60 centimeters. Diameter 2 centimeters. Power 1.0. Defense 0.5. Speed 1.2. Agile 1.5. Spirit 2.5. Physical strength 2.0. Skills Deadly Venom 2/5. Reputation value 0.10 millionths. Seeing that the information in the panel refreshed again, Fang Yun's mood was uplifted. This time his body length increased directly from 35 centimeters to 60 centimeters, increasing his total length by 25 centimeters. And the diameter has increased from 1.2 centimeters to 2 centimeters. In general, he can already be considered a half-mature snake. Even those adult mice, he can also swallow. The mouth snakes can be enlarged to about 130 degrees, and it is not a problem to swallow a prey 2 or 3 times their diameter. Thinking of this, Fang Yun couldn't help but cheer up, but when he saw the other property bar's information, he had the urge to swear. What? The next evolution will actually require 90 bio-energy points. Fang Yun was a bit speechless. The last evolution required him only 30 bio-energy, but this time if he wants to upgrade, he would need 90 bio-energy points. However, for this situation, he can only accept it honestly. I don't know when will my reputation point increase. Fang Yun's gaze suddenly moved to the column of reputation. He came to this world for more than 10 days, and his reputation value didn't increase. After all, no one would easily go to the wild, especially this jungle full of wild animals and poisonous insects. As for leaving the forest, and going to the human city, Fang Yun didn't want to die. Most people are afraid of loft snakes. If they saw him, the biggest possibility is probably killing him. Without mentioning that he would probably be treated as a snack if he were to go to some provinces in China. Fang Yun sighed, wanting to complete this task is not possible in the foreseeable future. At least until his defense can reach the bulletproof level, only then would he try. Shaking his head, he crawled towards the entrance, preparing to leave the tree hole. After this evolution, he is extremely hungry. He is ready to go out and catch a few more preys. After some crawling, he came back to the surface. At this moment, the sky is already dark, but the jungle is still very lively. All kinds of insects are coming and going. Fang Yun's snake tongue flicked in the air to check whether there was any prey around. But at this moment, his body tightened, because, right in front of him, there is a shadow. Chapter 10. Forest Fire. Translator. Ymir Moon. Fang Yun looked over to the opposite side. He saw that across from him, there is a big mouse coming over, about 5 inches or 12 centimeters. At this moment, Fang Yun and the big mouse looked at each other. Target locked. Voles, mammal, rodent family, can provide 15 bio-energy. Looking at the vole opposite, Fang Yun's eyes flashed, and it was obvious that this vole is the mother of the previous 4 young rats. I didn't expect to encounter the mother of the young rats just as I climbed out of the hole. Squeak. The opposite vole, like finding something, screamed hysterically. At this time, a pair of round eyes suddenly sharpened, looking at Fang Yun aggressively, hatred seeping out of its eyes. In the face of this vole mother hateful eyes, Fang Yun couldn't afford any guilt. The jungle rules are like that, to eat or be eaten. Instead, he flicked his tongue, slowly crawling towards the vole mother. Normally after the mouse decides to run, snake usually can't catch up. But if this vole wants to avenge her children, choosing to fight with him, then Fang Yun doesn't mind letting her reuniting with her children in his stomach. Squeak. Seeing that Fang Yun was approaching, the vole mother screamed wildly, her body trembling. The fear of snakes from her genes made her have an impulse to escape immediately. But the hatred of the murderer of her child let her stop in her track, cannot wait to fight to the death with Fang Yun. Fang Yun was getting closer and closer to the mouse, judging that the distance between them was only about half a meter. Suddenly, his body muscles tightened. The next moment, his body launched like an arrow, biting towards the vole mother neck. When Fang Yun launched the attack, the vole bounced on reflex, escaping his attack, and then landing on the side. Humph! Fang Yun snorted in his mind, did not hesitate, immediately launched a second attack, this time directly biting the vole's neck. Squeak! The vole mother screamed hysterically in pain, but Fang Yun was unmoved, his body trying to wrap around the vole mother. He is going to practice constriction on this vole mother. Hey! The fear and hatred in the mother's heart broke out at this moment, her body madly struggling. Her hind legs are madly kicking on the ground, trying to break away from Fang Yun's entanglement. Under the hysterical struggle of the vole mother, Fang Yun could not completely entangle it. More importantly, he felt that his teeth began to get numb like they are going to be torn off. He couldn't help but get annoyed. This mouse struggle is really fierce. However, even so, he did not loosen his mouth, instead, he bit tighter, his body trying to wrap around the body of the vole. After almost 3 minutes, the mad struggle of the vole reduced. It seems that its physical energy is nearly exhausted. Fang Yun took advantage of this opportunity, completely wrapping his body around the vole, and then began to strangle it. Squeak! The mouse made a harsh scream, resuming his struggle, but it's too late. Fang Yun has completely wrapped around the vole. Its struggle only prompted Fang Yun to contract even more. Gradually, the mouse didn't make any sound anymore. Pythons can perceive the heartbeat of the prey they entangled, so once entangled by a python, it's impossible to act dead or stand still and wait until the python releases himself and then escape. At the moment, under the perception of Fang Yun, the heartbeat of this vole mother became weaker and eventually stopped. Only then did he slowly loosen his body, and then devoured the vole mother from the head bit by bit. His originally empty belly has become full again. After swallowing this vole mother, Fang Yun was not ready to hunt again. He perceived the direction and then began to return to his own nest. 10 minutes later, Fang Yun returned to his nest. Today hunting has been very rewarding. He has undergone his third evolution, his level successfully upgrading to the 4th level, and there are still many additional gains. Now the bioenergy point on his property bar is 7 points. When the vole in the belly is digested, his bioenergy point will increase to 22. If there is such a harvest every day, wouldn't he upgrade quickly? Bang! At this time, suddenly, a loud sound came from outside of his nest so that Fang Yun was slightly surprised. Is this the sound of thunder? Wondered Fang Yun. After the first thunder sounded, thunder began to frequently sound in the sky. In the nest, Fang Yun heard from time to time the sound of several panicked birds coming in from outside. He coiled his body, without thinking much about the sound thunder, staying in the cave feeling an unparalleled sense of security. In addition, he is not afraid of rain. His nest is quite high off ground, and with the stones covering the hole, there won't be much rainwater seeping in his nest, so at this time, he curled peacefully in his nest and slept. Without knowing how long he slept, Fang Yun suddenly woke up. His nest was suddenly filled with a strange smell, which smelled like the smell of smoke. His confused head immediately cleared up. Fang Yun's body flashed. The next moment he flew directly to the entrance, and then looked around, seeing that in the left direction, a raging fire was particularly eye-catching. Hey! Despite the long distance, Fang Yun heard the sound of crackling. The smell of smoke that he previously smelled from his nest came from there. Forest fire. Fang Yun's mind immediately came up with such a thought. Thinking a little, he understood that the forest fire was likely caused by the previous thunder. Licking his dry lips, Fang Yun's had the urge to swear. That fire is about 500 meters away from him. It will definitely not be long before it will reach him. Even if he were to stay in the nest and manage to escape the flames, he will still be killed by the smoke. Without any hesitation, Fang Yun turned around and ran. Hey! He tried his best to crawl forward. After this fire, the forest here would definitely be ruined. In short, it is basically impossible to return to this site, thought Fang Yun sadly. After all, a bare mountain, certainly not many animals will return. What will he eat? Staying here for so long, Fang Yun is certainly not willing to leave. This ant nest is a unique place to live. The next time he wants to find such a good place, it is basically impossible. More importantly, that was his first home in this world. He is still emotionally attached to it. While Fang Yun was thinking about his future, he also saw many animals running in the jungle. Pheasants, lizards, birds, etc. In addition, he also saw the wild cat that attacked him previously this afternoon. At this time, the wild cat is limping, trying his best to run, struggling to follow the big forces. Fang Yun also saw that his left eye, which was contaminated by his own venom, were already dull. Under the crazy running of all the animals, the wounded animals like the wild cat, and the slow ones were gradually falling behind. Perhaps soon, they will be swallowed up by the flames. Chapter 11. Latest Findings. Translator. Ymir Moon. The escape team is expanding more and more, including some animals that Fang Yun did not see before, such as hedgehogs, crickets, and wild boars. Even he saw a few mongooses, scaring the heck out of him. Mongooses are one of the natural enemies snakes. Their body is extremely agile and flexible, with snakes being one of their favorite prey. Sometimes they will kill snakes while they are hunting in the wild. Fortunately, at this time everyone was busy escaping, and his existence did not arouse the interest of those mongooses. How is it still not raining? Looking at the gloomy night sky above the head, there is neither thunder nor rain, but there is a raging wind sweeping through the forest, blowing the surrounding trees. But this kind of powerful wind can't extinguish the forest fire that has spread in the back, but instead made the speed of the fire spread even faster. Fang Yun gritted his teeth. The muscles in his body have begun to feel sore, not knowing how long he can hold on. Among the big team, more and more small animals are starting to fall behind. As for the wildcat, it has long been unseen. After about an hour of crazy running, Fang Yun felt that his body was falling apart, his muscles are extremely sore. He himself didn't know that he could crawl for so long at his full speed. Suddenly, drops of rain started falling, so that the spirit of Fang Yun, who was exhausted, rekindled again. The sound of the raindrop falling onto the ground sounded like the most beautiful music in the world to him right now. I can finally stop and take a break. Fang Yun let out a sigh of relief and quickly found a covered position to hide. Then he turned his head and looked back. I saw that the forest fire that had been chasing them, at this moment, under the heavy rain, was constantly reducing, becoming smaller and smaller. Only now, did Fang Yun truly relax. He knows that this forest fire can't pose the slightest threat to him anymore. At this time, he also found that the animals that had gathered together to escape were now spreading around. But those carnivores did not choose to hunt at this moment, they just escaped to a strange area, and perhaps it will take some time to fully adapt to the new environment. Watching as the mongooses walked away, Fang Yun regained his gaze from their backs and then began to wait quietly for his physical energy to recover. After 10 minutes of rest, once Fang Yun felt that the physical strength he had consumed had recovered a little. Regaining the ability to crawl, he prepared to search for a place to rest when suddenly. Ring, the host successfully gained 15 bioenergy. The sound of the system sounded in Fang Yun's mind. He immediately understood after a slight surprise. This is the energy obtained by digesting the vole mother that he previously swallowed. Fang Yun couldn't help but rejoice, and immediately said in his mind, "System, bring up my property panel." Host property list. Level 4. Bioenergy 22/90. Skill points 0. Body length 60 centimeters. Diameter 2 centimeters. Power 1.0. Defense 0.5. Speed 1.2. Agile 1.5. Spirit 2.5. Physical strength 2.1. Skills: Deadly Venom 2/5. Reputation value 0.10 millionths. Bioenergy points are already up to 22. It seems that it is not so difficult to get 90 bioenergy points after all. Fang Yun excitedly thought, but then once he looked over to his other properties, he couldn't help but get surprised. What happened? I remember that the value on the column, physical strength, was 2. How did it become 2.1? He can be sure that he didn't misremember the previous value. Because every time the property list is refreshed, he will look at the values several times, and always remember it in his heart. Therefore, the value on the column, physical strength, has definitely changed. So what could be the reason for this? As Fang Yun thought about the reason, a flash passed in his mind. Was it that he had been crawling at full speed for an hour before, so the value on the column of physical strength increased? The more he thought about it, the more certain Fang Yun was. But even if this is the case, he still needs to verify this conjecture, by running at full speed for a while and then seeing the results. Now that he thinks about it, since people can enhance their physical fitness through training, then snakes naturally can too. Thinking this way, Fang Yun couldn't help getting excited. How did he not think of this before? He decided to wait until he prepares himself, and then develop a training program for himself, striving to make himself a big-muscled serpent. Hey! As the rain continued to fall, creating a heavy sound by striking the leaves or flowers. Fang Yun's thoughts were interrupted. This rainfall is quite big. He has to find a place to avoid the rain. Fang Yun crawled as the heavy rain continued to fall on his scales, his eyes darting around searching for a hideout. The night in the jungle is particularly dark, causing the visible range to be not even 1 meter, and because of the heavy rain, the smell of the creatures in the jungle has diluted a lot. His intention to find a rat nest was directly broken. There is a big tree in front, well, I should be able to avoid the rain under it. Fang Yun suddenly saw a large black shadow in front, faintly looking like a big tree. Getting excited, he quickly crawled over there. Finally, Fang Yun crawled under the big tree, feeling that the rain on the top of his head was much smaller. He immediately looked up at the canopy of this big tree, and couldn't help but get amazed. Although he still can't see the whole picture of this big tree, for the time being, he has already determined in his mind that this big tree is definitely huge. Slowly climbing up the trunk, Fang Yun plans to find a branch to rest and spend the night on it. But when he crawled to the middle of the trunk, he suddenly found a tree hole in the big tree. Fang Yun explored the tree hole with his head, and then flicked his tongue, examining the smell inside. This tree hole seems to have a master, but no matter what, I'm going to spend the night in it. Fang Yun slowly crawled inside the tree hole, and the more he crawled inside, the more surprise he got. The space inside this tree hole is absolutely not small. He felt that even if he grew to 2 meters long, this tree hole can still easily accommodate him. Snap! Suddenly, Fang Yun's body slipped, falling directly toward the bottom of this tree hole, causing a soft sound as he fell to the ground. But at this time, he was a bit stunned, because he felt a furry thing under his body. Just as he was still stunned, the furry thing under him suddenly stood up and directly pushed his body to the side. After that, Fang Yun heard a squeak voice, sounding full of panic. Then, after another squeak, a black shadow ran straight to outside the tree hole. Chapter 12. Smart Squirrel. Translator. Ymir Moon. Watching as the dark shadow was fleeing outside, Fang Yun got a bit surprised, but he quickly lost interest. It should be a type of rodent, or some small animal. In short, it is unlikely to pose a threat to himself. He is going to spend the night in this tree hole. If the rain stops tomorrow, he will go outside to search for a more suitable nest. If he finds it, he will return this tree hole to its original owner. But if the weather doesn't improve tomorrow, he will continue to stay here. After thinking for a while, Fang Yun stopped thinking about that, calmed down and prepared to sleep. He felt that this tree hole was very comfortable to lie down in. It seemed to have a fluffy mattress underneath. It is very soft and warm. As a cold-blooded animal that needs to raise his body temperature through basking in the sun, Fang Yun felt that such a resting place was simply too comfortable. As he is exhausted from that crazy escape not long ago, he soon fell asleep. On the early morning of the next day, Fang Yun was woken up by the faint sunlight passing through the tree hole. Just as he wanted to observe the layout of this tree hole, his attention was drawn by sudden a sharp scream. Squeak, squeak. Fang Yun looked over to the hole entrance. He saw that outside of the tree hole, there was a small furry animal constantly waving its small hands and screaming at him. Seeing the little thing that is yelling at him, Fang Yun got a bit surprised. It's a squirrel. Target locked. Long-tail squirrel. Species. Mammal. Family. Rodent, can provide 20 bioenergy point. When he heard the sound of the system in his mind, Fang Yun was slightly surprised. The bioenergy that this squirrel could provide him is actually quite a lot, even more than the vole that he had eaten last night. But when he looked at the squirrel size, he immediately understood why. The squirrel is about 20 centimeters tall, much bigger than yesterday's vole. It's just that he doesn't have the intent to prey on this squirrel. Squirrels were very agile and capturing them is not an easy task. And it's only because he has seized the other side nest, that he can sleep well last night. Well, let's be a good snake just for once, thought Fang Yun. So after Fang Yun glanced at the squirrel a few times, he stopped looking at him and then looked around inside the tree hole. After a few glances, he couldn't stop his amazement. Because in this tree hole, there is actually a lot of fur spread on the ground, rabbit fur, some furry animal wool. It's a very particular squirrel. Fang Yun sighed in amazement. This squirrel is really smart, knowing how to dress up his own nest. No wonder I felt warm and comfortable while sleeping here last night. On the other side inside the tree hole, there is a lot of tree seeds like pine cones and chestnuts stacked together. This squirrel probably has a habit of storing food. This pile of pine cones and chestnuts should be the stock of the squirrel. Regaining his gaze, Fang Yun crawled out of the tree hole, ready to investigate the situation in this area. The squirrel at the entrance of the cave, seeing that Fang Yun is crawling over, thinking that he is coming to kill himself, immediately ran, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Fang Yun didn't bother him, climbing out of the hole, then looking around, scanning the surrounding scenery for possible preys or threats. The rain hasn't stopped, but it's a lot smaller and can be considered at most a drizzle, enabling him to see everything around him. At this time, he also discovered that the big tree he is currently in is a huge pine tree with a diameter much bigger than the length of his body. He estimates that it should be more than 2 meters. Its canopy is also very large, covering a distance of more than 10 meters around. Its leaves are dark green, and does have a lot of pines, showing the vitality of this pine tree. Additionally, the area where he is currently in is extremely lush, housing a lot of lush trees and bushes. There are very few empty spaces around. This grove is almost covered with lush trees, most of them being eucalyptus and pine trees. However, on his right side about 100 meters away from this pine tree is a meadow, where only a few shrubs exist. The terrain on that grassland is very flat, like a slope sinking, on the other end is a steep cliff with bare gray rocks. Only on the dark side of some raised stones, some green moss grows. Squeak, squeak, a sharp cry broke Fang Yun's thoughts. He looked over to his right side, seeing that on a branch on another tree, the previous squirrel was standing there and yelling at himself. Squeak, squeak. Seeing Fang Yun looking at him, the squirrel screamed even louder. Fang Yun couldn't help getting annoyed at the guy who interrupted his thoughts, so he swayed his head from side to side, hissing and then making an attacking gesture. Squeak. The squirrel on the branch was immediately scared to jump, and which he couldn't stand still, falling straight toward the ground. Hey! The squirrel fell to the ground while screaming, but the soft grass on the ground, plus the thick fur on him, protected him from injury. Watching this scene the whole time, Fang Yun on the trunk couldn't help but smile. Oh, what a silly squirrel. After it was quiet once again, Fang Yun began to think about his next survival problem. It is still raining, which means that he can't find a place suitable for his own residence for now. Without mentioning that he still doesn't know whether this area is suitable for his own survival or not. For a nest to be suitable for his survival, there are two important points to consider. The first point is that the nest must be concealed from predators. Furthermore, the size should be moderate, not too small, nor too big, to prevent natural enemies from drilling into the nest to attack himself. Another point is that the nearby prey should be sufficient for his growth. He looked up at the gloomy sky, seeing that the rain has no tendency to stop. All he could do is to return to the tree hole. At the moment, the weather in the forest is quite cold, which made him particularly uncomfortable. All he could do is snuggle between the pile of rabbit fur and the furry wool. As for finding a nest to live in, or wait until the weather becomes fine before going to search for it. But what he didn't expect was that the heavy rain actually went on for a whole 7 days. During those 7 days, on which he did not go out to hunt, but on a certain afternoon, he saw a bird whose wings were drenched with rain, lying on the ground not far from the pine tree. That little bird gave him 10 bioenergy point. It is worth mentioning that when he returned to the tree hole after swallowing the little bird, he found a shadow hurriedly running out of the tree hole, which was the squirrel whose nest had been seized by him. The squirrel didn't leave this whole time. At night, Fang Yun didn't know where it went. It's estimated that he stayed on some branch and rested. In the daytime, it either stands in front of the tree hole and looks at himself with resentment, or when he returned to the tree hole, he can see it running out of the hole when he comes back. Fang Yun thought that the silly guy was ready to rest in the nest, but then he saw the squirrel running with a chestnut in his mouth. It turned out that the squirrel is risking his life to return to the nest to get food. Since then, Fang Yun has been deliberately going out every day for a while, leaving the squirrel with the time to enter the tree hole to retrieve food. In 7 days, just eating a small bird made Fang Yun a little annoyed. But fortunately, after 7 days, the weather has finally cleared. Chapter 13. Exploring the area. Translator. Ymir Moon. The rain has finally stopped. Fang Yun's head slid out of the tree hole and looked at the gloomy sky that stopped raining. He is really afraid that this rain will last for weeks, stopping him from hunting. If so, until when would he undergo his 4th evolution? In the first 2 days of rain, he swallowed a bird, which allowed his bioenergy to reach 32 points, but there is still a long distance from the 90 bioenergy points needed for the upgrade. I don't know how much prey is in this area, whether it does have more prey than the previous area. While thinking about it, Fang Yun suddenly looked at the branch on his left side, and the squirrel whose nest was seized by himself stood there. Compared with the previous few days, this squirrel is obviously not so afraid of himself anymore. Looking away from the squirrel, Fang Yun looked at the grassland 100 meters away. At this moment the sun is rising from there, indicating that the east is in that direction. Converging his thoughts, Fang Yun is preparing to crawl toward the grassland, when suddenly, scream! A loud eagle scream sounded. Fang Yun's body couldn't help but shake. In an instant, he turned his head, looking at the place where the eagle's humming sounded. The place he is looking at the moment is the steep cliff at the end of the grassland. He saw that above the grassland, in the sky, there is a black eagle hovering, flying in a circular manner, seemingly tracking some prey. Fang Yun looked as the eagle dived, appearing to attack something. Then after he rose to the sky again, there was one more thing under his iron claws, a fat hare. Is that the eagle I met before? Fang Yun's mouth was pumping. While he was in the ant cave a few days ago, he still thought about trying to avoid this eagle as much as possible. As a result, he still stumbled into him. Is this what they call bad luck? Fang Yun was speechless and also discouraged. Do I have to move again? Told Fang Yun depressed. Shaking his head, no, I don't have to move again. This forest should enough to block the vision of the eagle. What I need to note now is whether this forest can provide enough prey for me to grow. Thinking this way, Fang Yun's heart was put down a little. As long as he doesn't run out of this forest into the grassland, he won't have to worry about the threat of this eagle. After sorting his thoughts, he couldn't wait to climb down the tree and investigate the situation in this area. Squeak! Suddenly, a cry attracted Fang Yun's attention. He looked back at the squirrel and found that the latter was shivering at the moment. Obviously, the appearance of the eagle gave the squirrel a fright. It's estimated that he wants to go back to his nest to calm his mind down, but Fang Yun is blocking the hole, making him afraid to go. After Fang Yun understood the squirrel thoughts, he crawled down to the bushes without hesitation. There is cold icy water hanging on the moist grass. Although the temperature in the jungle is slowly rising, it's still very cold. Fang Yun spent a whole day trying to understand the situation of this area. He crawled for a long distance. Except for the grassland in the east, he probed the area within a radius of 500 meters. Although it's a pity that he did not find a place suitable for his own residence. But there is also good news, that is, the prey in this area is very rich. Frogs, mice, birds, lizards, and small animals like rabbits, this area could be said to have everything in it. Additionally, in the south direction, that is, the direction in which the mountain is in, he found a small lake with a lot of fish in it. When I'm in the mood, I could go there to prey on fish and expand my menu. Thought Fang Yun gleefully. While exploring this area, not far from the pine trees, he met a 1-meter-long bamboo green snake. This kind of snake is a relatively common poisonous snake species. It is difficult to find once hidden on a tree branch or in the grass. However, Fang Yun is also a snake, making his sense of smell very sensitive. This bamboo green snake can't hide in front of him. After he glanced at this bamboo green snake, he left. Although the two are living in the same area, there is plenty of prey here, so there is no need to dispute. In this day's exploration, he did not forget to hunt. After his third evolution, the success rate of hunting has increased greatly. During this exploration, he has captured a sub-mature gecko, a mature tiger-like frog, and 4 mature black-spotted frogs. Once he returned to the pine tree hole, the prey in his stomach was all digested. Successfully obtaining 23 bioenergy points. The gecko provided him with 5 bioenergy, the tiger frog provided 10 bioenergy point, and the 4 black-spotted frogs provided 8 bioenergy. His current total bioenergy points have reached 55 points. Slowly climbing up the tree hole in the middle of the trunk. Once Fang Yun approached the tree hole, he was slightly surprised. Because at the moment, in the tree hole, the horrified screams of the squirrel were sounding. Flicking his tongue in the air, Fang Yun immediately perceived an unusual smell. This smell did not belong to him nor did it belong to the squirrel. Combined with the screams in the tree hole, it's already obvious. The squirrel was attacked. Just thinking for a moment, Fang Yun came to such a conclusion. Without any hesitation, he quickly crawled into the tree hole. Going inside the nest, he immediately saw the scene inside the tree hole. I saw that in front of him at the moment, there are 2 figures facing each other. One of the figures is the squirrel he is familiar with. The other figure has black and white stripes on its long body with dark spots on its mouth. While Fang Yun was staring at this uninvited guest, the sound of the system resounded in his mind. Target locked, skunk, mammal family, omnivore, can provide 25 bioenergy point. After hearing the system sound, Fang Yun's pupils shrank. This creature turned out to be a weasel. Skunks are not a natural enemy of snakes, but it is difficult for snakes to deal with them because while skunks are small, they are very aggressive and fierce. Most importantly, they have a feature. In the event of a crisis, a very disgusting stench will be released, making them one of the least favorites preys for any animal. After Fang Yun appeared, this skunk was slightly shocked. At the moment, its body turned slightly, facing Fang Yun, appeared to be somewhat stunned. It seems that it did not expect that while he is hunting, a third party would break in. But the squirrel, on the other hand, seeing that Fang Yun appeared, his hair that stood up relaxed slightly. At this time, Fang Yun also saw the squirrel's hind legs were injured, with blood flooding out. Obviously, the squirrel is the losing side in the fight against the skunk. Squeak, squeak. The skunk finally reacted, and immediately roared toward Fang Yun, making an attacking pose, and slowly approaching Fang Yun. Looking at it like this, it seems that it wants to add Fang Yun on the menu with the squirrel together. Fang Yun's body slightly coiled up, lifting his head, also making an attacking posture. A skunk in the district, want to scare him away. What a joke. At this moment, their eyes are looking directly at each other, and the distance between the two sides is constantly getting closer under the movement of the skunk. The battle is on the verge. Chapter 14, The Snake and the Squirrel. Translator. Ymir Moon. Hey. Suddenly the skunk launched an attack, biting straight towards Fang Yun's head, but Fang Yun's reaction was faster, easily dodging the attack of the former, and the next moment, he bit toward the hind leg of the skunk that had not landed yet. But the skunk agility is equally good, titling his body slightly toward the right. Ha! Be cheated. When he saw this scene, Fang Yun, who was biting toward the skunk hind leg, smiled, suddenly changing his head position straight toward the place that the skunk is going to land on, seeming like the skunk almost jumped straight into his mouth. This is not to say that he knew where the skunk was going to land beforehand, but because on the left side of the weasel is a tree wall. If the skunk wants to avoid his own attack, he can only avoid to the right. After Fang Yun turned his attack angle, this time, the skunk couldn't dodge again. He could only watch as Fang Yun bit on its hind legs. Poohs. Suddenly, a stench spewed out straight from the skunk bottom. In an instant, Fang Yun loosened his mouth and then quickly crawled outside the tree hole. Inhale. When he came to the outside, Fang Yun took a deep breath of fresh air. He swears that the stinking stench of the skunk was the worst smell he smelled in his life. It's extremely disgusting. At the moment when he smelled that smell, he felt like he was suffocating. After recovering a little, Fang Yun turned over and looked over the tree hole. He saw that the skunk was lying in the tree hole, screaming, wanting to climb out of the tree hole, but powerless to do so. At the moment, let alone climb out of the tree hole, even standing is impossible. In fact, he has long prepared this trick for the skunk. When he first bit the skunk, he injected a large dose of venom into its flesh. Now his venom has worked. I didn't think that the toxicity of my venom would be so strong. Fang Yun looked at the skunk in the tree hole as it trembled on the ground. It wasn't even 1 minute, but this skunk already couldn't move. After another minute or so, the skunk body turned over, completely suffocated. However, Fang Yun did not immediately go inside to swallow the skunk but waited until all the smell inside was gone. Only then did he go inside the tree hole and began to swallow the skunk. From head to toe. The squirrel who was also inside the tree hole also saw as Fang Yun devoured the skunk. His body was trembling in horror, seemingly afraid that Fang Yun would also eat him. However, because his hind legs were injured, and the stench of the previous skunk has a certain paralysis effect, so at the moment he could not run out at all, only look at Fang Yun in horror. He showed his teeth, growling and making a threatening gesture. His originally relaxed hair rose like steel needles. However, Fang Yun simply ignored him, quietly curling his body and resting. The squirrel, seeing that Fang Yun doesn't seem to have the idea of eating him, slowly relaxed, hesitantly looking at Fang Yun, then slowly curling into a ball and sleeping. Early the next morning, Fang Yun went out to hunt as usual, but the sound caused by his crawling woke up the squirrel, scaring him to jump out of the tree hole. But as his hind leg was injured, he just ran to the entrance then fell back to the tree hole. All he could do is to look at Fang Yun with panic. Fang Yun simply ignored him and climbed out of the tree hole, opening his daily hunting tour. His luck though wasn't good today, as the prey he caught wasn't as much as yesterday, only getting about 5 bioenergy point. Raising his total amount of bioenergy to 85 points. Only 5 more bioenergy point and I will be able to evolve again. Fang Yun's couldn't help getting excited. As long as his luck doesn't worsen anymore, it is very possible to evolve tomorrow. After his body grows again, he will become even safer in this jungle. As long as he does not expose himself to the vision of the eagle, he isn't likely to have any life threat at all. At least in the area that he had already explored. In addition, he can go to farther places to explore the terrain and expand his territory. After all, as his level rises, he will need more and more biological energy. Back in the tree hole, Fang Yun rested. After hunting for a day, he is also a little tired. The squirrel, as usual, hid in a corner of the tree hole, looking at Fang Yun with great vigilance, but he was not shivering in fear like yesterday. After a night of rest, the energetic Fang Yun went out hunting again. What made Fang Yun surprised is that his luck was even worse than yesterday. He did not encounter much prey while hunting, and even if he encountered prey, the other party ran away before he even came close. On this day, he harvested only 3 bioenergy points. However, he also experimented with his own guess today, that is, whether he can improve his attribute value through exercise. Under his trials, he found that his guess was indeed correct. But it seems a bit tasteless. Using this method to improve his physical attributes is not nearly as fast as evolving by hunting prey. Because according to his discovery, if he wants to increase his own attribute value, he would have to break through his physical limits again and again. For example, the last time after running for an hour, his physical strength increased by 0.1 points. After that, wanting to increase his physical strength by the same amount, running for an hour isn't enough. According to Fang Yun's experiment, if he wants to improve his physical strength by the same amount again, he must run at full speed for more than an hour, almost 2 hours. Of course, this method is not completely unusable. For example, like this unfortunate day, when he can't capture enough prey, he can use this method to improve his physical attributes. Moreover, Fang Yun guessed that physical strength shouldn't be the only attribute that can be improved through exercise. Strength and agility should be improved by exercise too. After experimenting for almost half a day, Fang Yun raised his physical strength from 2.1 to 2.2. Now, his limit is continuously running at full speed for 2 hours. After returning to the tree hole, the sky was already dark. Fang Yun isn't surprised that the squirrel is not in the tree hole. This morning, he found that the squirrel injuries were a lot better. Maybe he went out to find a place to rest. After all, before he got injured, while he slept in the tree hole at night, the squirrel slept outside. But what surprised Fang Yun was that after a while, the squirrel got into the tree hole, glanced him with a vigilant look, then found a corner and curled into a ball. It seems that this squirrel is getting less and less afraid of himself. Fang Yun did not think much about it, he is rather happy to get along with this squirrel. For the reason, Fang Yun himself is also unclear. Maybe because he is too lonely, so he wants to find someone to accompany him, even if the other person can't communicate with him, just his company is enough. While thinking about that, Fang Yun fell asleep unknowingly. Early morning the next day, Fang Yun continued to go out to hunt, and on this day, he finally got enough bioenergy point to undergo his 4th evolution. Chapter 15, Expanding Territory. Translator, Ymir Moon. Ding, detecting that the host has enough bioenergy, do you want to undergo this evolution? Evolve, said Fang Yun in his mind. Like in the previous evolutions, a warm stream emerged in his body, getting hotter as time passed. In the tree hole, Fang Yun writhed somewhat uncomfortably, his body constantly rubbing on the walls of the tree. Although his pain tolerance became stronger, the pain of evolution is no joke. The squirrel curled in the corner of the nest saw his unusual condition, looking a little uneasy. Wanting to come over to check his situation, but being afraid to do so. After 10 minutes of pain, Fang Yun's evolution finally ended. Ring, the host's 4th evolution is successful, level upgraded to level 5, rewarding 4 skill points. Ring, detecting that there are 4 skill points available. Currently, there are skills available for upgrading. Does the host want to view them? On the system panel, these 2 notifications popped up again. However, after Fang Yun checked the available skills, he found that the currently available skills are still only Fatal Venom and Discoloration Camouflage. This somewhat disappointed him. His Fatal Venom skill has been upgraded to level 2, which fully meet his current needs. In addition, Discoloration Camouflage skill is not necessary for now, and now that his skill points are not enough, spending them on these 2 skills is somewhat wasteful. Thinking about it, he is ready to save his skill points for now, and use them once an interesting skill refresh or in an emergency. System, bring up my properties panel. Fang Yun said softly in his mind, which prompted a light screen to instantly appear in his mind. Host property list. Level 5. Bioenergy points 12 250ths. Skill points 4. Body length 1 meter. Diameter 2.8 centimeters. Power 2.0. Defense 1.0. Speed 1.5. Agile 2.0. Spirit 3.0. Physical strength 2.8. Skills. Deadly Venom 2/5. Reputation value 0.10 millionths. From top to bottom, Fang Yun's gaze swept across his property panel, while his body attributes have quite an obvious improvement. The growth of his body length is the most obvious, this time reaching 1 meter directly. His other attributes have also increased accordingly. It's also worth noting that the next upgrade requires 250 bioenergy point, which is not by any means a small amount. Although this area ecosystem is quite rich, it is difficult to support him to achieve such a goal quickly. If he wants to gather enough bioenergy to evolve as soon as possible, he must expand his territory, then concentrate on hunting bigger prey. Like mice, lizards, large frogs, and other sufficiently large prey, at least for his current size. Squeak, squeak. Suddenly a crying sound interrupted Fang Yun thoughts. Looking at the squirrel on his right. At the moment, the latter was staring at him suspiciously. He seems to be surprised that he suddenly grew so big. The harmony between the two of them these days made the squirrel less vigilant and more trusting in Fang Yun. He isn't as tense with Fang Yun as he used to be. Even occasionally he will make some friendly moves to him, such as handing his treasured chestnut or pine cone to Fang Yun for him to taste. But as swallowing plant-based foods can't increase bioenergy, and Fang Yun's teeth can't deshell pine cones and chestnuts. That means that if he swallows them, it will only lead to stomachache and indigestion, so he can only reject the squirrel kindness. In the next few days, Fang Yun expanded his own territory by 3 or 4 times according to his previous ideas. The process was not easy. For example, when he was expanding towards the south, he met a mongoose. If he wasn't careful enough, he would have been discovered by the mongoose and eaten as a snack. Since then, the south has been marked by Fang Yun as a restricted area. In addition, while he was expanding toward the north, he also met a black snake about 1.5 meters, almost clashing with the other side. However, as the other party seemed to have just eaten, his belly bulging, so he took the lead in retreating from the confrontation with Fang Yun. In fact, with his current ability, it was not difficult to kill that black snake, without mentioning that the other party mobility at that time was greatly weakened, so he could have killed that black snake with almost no difficulty. But as the body of this black snake is longer than his body, and his teeth don't have the ability to shred the body of the black snake, so he could only let this easy meal slip away. Under his exploration these days, he has recorded where the prey is the most abundant in his territory, where his competitors are located and most importantly where his natural enemies are. So that he can prepare himself to the fullest before he goes out to hunt. It's worth mentioning that through these days of hard work, he also raised his biological energy to 123 points, almost reaching half of the amount required. Hiding in a shrub under a camphor tree, Fang Yun flicked his tongue, collecting the surrounding smell. His eyes suddenly looked at a tree root. He saw that there is a hole under the bare tree root. Fang Yun crawled toward the hole while flicking his tongue. After detecting the owner's smell, he immediately plunged into this tree hole. After a moment, panicked squeaks came from inside this hole, sounding for a while before slowly stopping. After more minute, Fang Yun slowly crawled from inside, dragging a big rat by his tail. After dragging this rat from inside the hole, Fang Yun proceeded to devour it. After swallowing this rat into his belly, Fang Yun lifted his head and looked at the sky. The sun has begun to set, it's probably an hour or two before nightfall, it's time to go back. Today, his harvest is quite rich. Before hunting this big rat, Fang Yun also captured an adult vole, a lizard of about 20 centimeters, and 6 mature frogs of ordinary size. Counting this rat, today's prey provided him with a total of 47 bioenergy point. If it is not because every time after eating, it takes about 2 hours to digest the prey, his gain will be even greater. Sure enough, the efficiency of predation after the expansion of the territory has increased significantly. Fang Yun let out a sigh of relief. He only dared to expand his territory after his body size increased. Like when he was only 20 or 30 centimeters long, even a pheasant could kill himself. But now, if he met that pheasant again, he will let him know why the flowers are so red. While still thinking about teaching that pheasant, Fang Yun crawled on the ground and returned to his nest. The night is near, he will continue his hunting trip tomorrow. After almost an hour of crawling, Fang Yun finally returned to the big pine tree. Not long after he got into the tree hole, the squirrel also returned to the nest, taking a pine nut out of his cheek pouch, and piling it next to its pile of food. Fang Yun counted down a total of 9 new pine nuts. It seems that today, it's not only him that has a good harvest, but this squirrel too. Fang Yun everyday's life has become monotonous and repetitive, hunting, resting, and then continuing to hunt, repeating this cycle again and again. However, Fang Yun still did not dare to slack off. Although his safety in this jungle has improved a lot, he is not absolutely safe. Natural enemies such as mongooses, wildcats and cobras still pose a threat to him. Therefore, even after getting tired of this lifestyle, he still forced himself to hunt every day. He absolutely can't have the slightest sloppiness in order to truly grow up. But even so, this kind of lifestyle is still very depressing for Fang Yun. Fortunately, with this squirrel, his depressing life added a little spice. Seeing this squirrel back to the nest every day, even if there is no communication between them, still somewhat relaxed his mood. It's worth mentioning that he also gave the squirrel a name a few days ago. The hair of this squirrel is more flax-colored. According to this, Fang Yun gave it a name called Xiaoma. Originally Fang Yun thought that life in the near future would continue to be monotonous, but he did not expect that there would be a little accident soon. Chapter 16. Beauty Streamer. Translator. Ymir Moon. Xiao Ning, hurry, I saw the big pine tree you said. Sister Wei, come over, hurry to take pictures. Sister Song, how did you fall behind so much? Hurry up, we are literally at our destination. Looking at the petite girl that was bouncing energetically like a rabbit in front, Zhang Wei and Meng Ning could not help but smile. They did not expect that Chen Meng, who usually looks soft and weak, is actually the most powerful one among them. You have to know that one of them is a wild photographer and often go to the wild. The other one grew up in the countryside and often follows her parents up and down the mountain. Who would have thought that when climbing the mountain today, they would actually lose to the most delicate Chen Meng in their dormitory? Xiao Meng, wait for us. Don't run too fast, you may fall, and be careful of snakes. I am exhausted, Sister Wei, Xiao Ning, Xiao Meng. I will absolutely not accompany you to climb the mountains in the future. At the end of the team, Song Ran bitterly said. A few days ago, they discussed where to play on the holiday. The other three people in the dormitory completely ignored her opposition and insisted on climbing mountains. The mountain they chose is not some historical or famous mountain. It is the mountain in Meng Ning's hometown. At first, Meng Ning said that the mountain scenery is beautiful, the road is in good condition and there are many cute small animals. After a long debate and persuasion, Song Ran finally agreed, but when she really started climbing the mountain, she immediately regretted it. There are indeed many small animals in the mountains. They saw a lot along the way. But this mountain road is not in good conditions at all. It is a pity that Song Ran is already on the pirate boat. Now it's already too late to regret it and can only follow behind her three girlfriends. With almost no exercise, it's obvious that you will be exhausted. You should exercise more, your body is already out of shape. The foremost Chen Meng looked at the last Song Ran, and after saying that, she encouraged her. Hurry up, it's cool under the tree, and the grass here is too soft. When talking, Chen Meng was still hopping on the ground like a rabbit. Song Ran, after hearing Chen Meng words, bit her teeth and struggled to walk up to the pine tree. Inhale. After a little moment, Zhang Wei, Meng Ning, and Song Ran all arrived next to Chen Meng. Looking at the scenery in front of them, all of them got surprised. A large pine tree with a diameter of more than 2 meters, with its roots inserted firmly on the ground, and its crown stretching out for more than 10 meters, creating a large shade area. On the ground is a thick patch of grass, where it's particularly comfortable to step on, just like stepping on a soft carpet. They can hear birds singing in the surrounding trees. On their left side is a meadow, from which there is a mountain breeze blowing straight on their face, feeling very comfortable. Ah, I can finally rest. Song Ran took a deep breath of fresh air and then sprawled on the ground with no ladylike manner at all, lying on the soft grass underneath as the breeze blew on her face, she moaned. Ah, it's really comfortable. By her side, Zhang Wei and Meng Ning also dropped their backpacks, and then sat on the ground, quietly enjoying the mountain breeze on their faces. Xiao Meng, why are you still standing? Sit down and rest with us, the breeze is very comfortable. Seeing Chen Meng still standing, Song Ran invited her to rest on the grass with them. Chen Meng waved her hand, smiling as she said, I will rest later, I'm going to live stream now. While saying this, she began to rummage in her backpack, finally taking out a selfie stick and a mobile phone. Seeing that Chen Meng is still very energetic, Zhang Wei and Meng Ning couldn't help feeling shameful. At this time, Chen Meng, who was adjusting her cell phone, finally put the phone on the selfie stick and started her live stream. She seems to be quite popular, having just started live streaming. In just a few seconds over 100 people entered her live room, and this number is still rapidly growing. Hello everyone, and welcome to my live room. This is your favorite friend Xiao Meng. Chen Meng said a greeting to the camera lens. As usual, the live friends in the room greeted her back. She is a sophomore student and assigned streamer of the Sukatake Live broadcast platform. She is mainly an outdoor broadcaster, attracting a large number of fans with her youthful appearance and lively and cheerful personality. Although the popularity of her live room isn't as good as those top streamers, her fans are more than 70,000 and she is very likely to become a popular streamer with more than 100,000 fans in the near future. It was not easy. After 2 weeks of waiting, Xiao Meng finally started streaming. Xiao Meng, where are you streaming this time? Is it in the grove of your school, or in the downtown park? As an outdoor streamer, the school's grove and downtown park are the only places that you stream in. Doesn't your conscience hurt claiming to be an outdoor streamer? After Chen Meng just made a greeting to the camera, the chat platform was immediately flooded with complaining people. Is it really important where Sister Meng stream in? I just want to see Meng's sister in the live room. Don't mention that anymore. In order to celebrate seeing Meng's sister again, we must send 100 bamboo branches to celebrate. 100 bamboo branches are coming. Suddenly, on the screen of Chen Meng's mobile phone, bamboo leaves floated up, then bamboo branches occasionally appeared, which looked particularly cool. Chen Meng looked at the barrage on the mobile phone screen and was a bit embarrassing at first. As an outdoor streamer, she never really went outdoors, only occasionally going to the school's grove or the city's downtown parks. But then when she saw the bamboo leaves and the occasional bamboo branches appearing on the screen of her mobile phone, a smile crept on her face. The gift system of the Sukatake Live broadcast platform is divided into 4 grades. From low to high they are bamboo leaves, bamboo branches, bamboo shoots, and bamboo trees. Among them, bamboo leaves are 1 Chinese yuan, bamboo branches are 10 yuan, bamboo shoots are 100 yuan, and bamboo trees are 1000 yuan. The gifts received by the streamer are usually only half, with the other half going to the live platform. In other words, the previous gifts, she has received more than 500 yuan. Although with her background, she is not short of money, this money for Chen Meng, who is still studying, can also be considered small pocket money. Ahem, thank you Laotian for the generous gift. Chen Meng said with gratitude, and immediately smiled, but the place where I'm streaming is neither the school grove or the downtown park. Pausing for a second, she continued, in order to thank you for your long-term support, Xiao Meng is going to be a real outdoor streamer. The location we are streaming in at this time is a mountain named Wulong Mountain. Wulong Mountain is located in Wuyong County. Although it has not been developed into a tourist scenic spot, the scenery here is particularly beautiful. And the ecological environment in Wulong Mountain is particularly well developed, with a variety of different wild animals living inside. And according to some rumors, there are apparently giant pythons here. After hearing Chen Mengxi's voice, no accident, there is mostly disbelief in the live room. Whether they believe you or not, I don't believe it anyway. You still honestly admit it, is that some park that you didn't visit before? This park is rather good, looking like the wild. Sister Meng, can you say the park name? Me and my girlfriend will go there to see you. Seeing the barrage in the live room, Chen Meng grinned. Not explaining much, but instead turning the selfie stick slightly, letting the camera capture the surrounding trees and the grass on the ground. Not surprisingly, after seeing the surrounding scenery, the live friends in the live room of Chen Meng immediately boiled. Holy sh*t, she really is streaming in the wild. Xiao Meng, you are finally willing to go to the wild, becoming a real outdoor streamer. Why do I suddenly want to cry? Don't talk, let's send Sister Meng 10 bamboo shoots. Chapter 17. Shocked Chen Meng. Translator. Ymir Moon. Haha, everyone is too enthusiastic. The gift that suddenly flocked in the live room shocked Chen Meng. She had done so many live broadcasts. While she had received quite a lot of gifts, receiving so many gifts in the same live broadcast is definitely the first one. But then she quickly calmed down. After all, she doesn't lack money. She did so many live broadcasts just for fun, so while she was happy to receive so many gifts, she didn't think much of it. There are a lot of small animals in this jungle. While climbing the mountain, we saw several pheasants and hedgehogs. If you want to experience wildlife, you may want to visit this mountain sometime in the future. But when everyone comes, please remember not to damage the environment or disturb the wild animals here. While Chen Meng was advertising for the mountain, she continued to rotate the selfie stick around so that everyone could see the scenery around her. Sister Meng, you couldn't have gone into the mountains by yourself, could you? This forest looks very lush. There may be snakes or poisonous insect inside. Xiao Meng, you must be careful. I didn't expect that Xiao Meng, who usually looks very cute, is so powerful. Seeing the words of concern that appeared in the chat, Chen Meng smiled and explained, thank you for your concern, but I went up with my 3 good sisters. It turned out that Xiao Meng's classmates have gone with her. Well, that's a relief. I still remember that last time a grasshopper jumped on Xiao Meng's head in the park, they freaked out so much they ran in circles. Sister Xiao, turn the camera to your roommates. Upstairs you grab Xiao Ning and Sister Wei. Xiao Meng is mine. I am different from you guys, I like the chubby one. Looking at the barrage of the live friends in the live room, it's clear that they are quite familiar with Xiao Meng's 3 roommates, and in fact, it's indeed so. They appeared quite a lot of times in Xiao Meng's streams. Plus as her 3 friends are also very beautiful, causing Chen Meng fans to be very impressed with them. Oh, yes everyone, I'm going to show you a good thing. Chen Meng looked at the camera, suddenly smiling mysteriously, then slowly turned the camera to the big pine tree next to her. Previously, she deliberately ignored this large pine tree while showing her fans the surrounding environment, leaving this large pine tree as a surprise to shock the fans in the live room. When this large pine tree appeared in the live room, it was not surprising that her fans in the live room immediately boiled up. The very thick trunk of this large pine tree, plus the green pine needles, are particularly eye-catching, making this pine tree stand out from the rest. This pine tree is really big, it should be at least 500 years old. Who would have thought that there is such a rare landscape in this Wulong mountain? I have to go there to see when I have time. Sister Xiao, can you get closer? Seeing the fans' request in the live room, Chen Meng immediately approached the big pine tree, but when she got there, she suddenly became surprised. Xiao Ning, Sister Wei, Sister Ran, you have to come to see, there is a tree hole here. Chen Meng looked at the tree hole in front of her. The tree hole was about 180 centimeters or 6 feet from the ground, being more than 10 centimeters higher than her eyes, making it hard to see what's inside. Okay, Zhang Wei, Meng Ning, and Song Ran, who were resting there, heard Chen Meng's words and looked up to her side. You said, will there be squirrels inside? Chen Meng's face suddenly showed a touch of interest. She knew that most squirrels like to nest in tree holes. She also heard Meng Ning say that there are squirrels on the mountain. However, they indeed saw a lot of small animals while climbing all the way up, but they did not see even a glimpse of a squirrel, which made her a little disappointed. So when she saw this tree hole, she couldn't help getting excited. Inside this tree hole, would there be a squirrel? Squirrel, where are the squirrels? After Song Ran, who was sprawled on the ground, heard Chen Meng's words, she propped up her body, quickly standing up. Zhang Wei and Meng Ning, who were sitting next to each other, also quickly stood up in surprise. For squirrels and other small cute furry animals, few girls are able to resist their charm. Xiao Meng, don't get too close, in case it's a snake hole. Song Ran, who was running towards Chen Meng, saw her tiptoe, trying to look inside the tree hole and could not help reminding her. Her words also made Chen Meng, who was trying to look inside the tree hole, stiffen, immediately turning her head to Song Ran, shouting, shut up, you are a crow mouth. Ha ha ha, things that Miss Ran predict, usually aren't wrong. In fact, it's very simple if you want to know if it's as a squirrel hole or a snake hole. Just insert your hand inside the tree hole, if you aren't bitten then it's not a snake hole. Yes, this method can indeed identify whether it's a snake hole or a squirrel hole. I used this method last time I stumbled upon a tree hole. Now I'm chilling in the underworld. Quote. Chen Meng glanced at the chat floating on the live room, her mouth twitching, speechless, shaking her head helplessly. She was about to tiptoe and look inside the tree hole to see if she could find any squirrel. Suddenly, she saw that not far from her, Song Ran, Meng Ning, and Zhang Hao stopped their footsteps. The look on their faces is somewhat wrong. Sister Ran, what happened? Why do you look so pale? Chen Meng, not knowing what's the problem, she asked Song Ran. Song Ran, whose face was bloodless, stiffly raised her right hand, then pointed it at the tree hole next to Chen Meng. Chen Meng's brows slightly wrinkled, slowly turning her head, looking over to the tree hole, but after one glance, her complexion changed immediately, uttering a harsh scream. Ah! Standing stiffly in the same place, like a wooden figure, looking at the tree hole opposite her in horror. At the moment, outside the tree hole, a reptile head was sticking out. That is a snake head. No wonder Chen Meng will be scared to scream. She didn't expect Song Ran's previous warning to be true. This tree hole is not a squirrel nest at all, but a snake nest. Chen Meng was shaking, wanting to run away quickly, but her legs are a little soft, resulting in her inability to move. Xiao Meng, quick, run! Song ran, Meng Ning, and Zhang Wei finally resumed thinking, quickly urged her to run. Chen Meng wanted to say something, but suddenly, she became extremely surprised, her mouth turning into an O shape, not only her, but also Song Ran, Meng Ning, and Zhang Wei who are watching on the side. They saw a rounded head coming from the tree hole. That is a squirrel. They saw this squirrel hug the head of the snake, his rounded, beady small eyes staring at Chen Meng and her roommates outside. A snake and a squirrel. The four girls' mouth became gaping open, surprised at this extremely rare scene. Zhang Wei suddenly recovered, grabbed the camera hanging on her chest, pointed the lens at the opposite tree hole, and pressed the shutter. Hey, an extremely rare scene was thus captured. Chapter 18. Getting Reputation Points. Translator. Ymir Moon. Xiao Meng, come over here. Meng Ning on the side finally snapped out of her reverie, going over to Chen Meng and pulling her to the distance. Then, the four sisters stood together, looking at Fang Yun in the tree hole with a mixture of fear and curiosity. A snake actually lives with a squirrel, furthermore, the relationship between them seems to be quite close, which subverts their worldview. Looking at the four girls not far, who are also looking at him, Fang Yun was surprised. There are people in this forest. The plants in this forest are particularly lush, and there are still many wild animals. He once thought that it is a virgin forest far away from humans' habitat, but it seems that he was wrong. Now that he looks closely, these four girls, all around the age of 20, are very casual in their wear. They only carry a mountaineering bag on their backs. Unlike professional mountaineers, it is estimated that they are just amateurs going up the mountain for fun. More importantly, the appearance of these four girls is similar to that of Eastern women in his previous life, making Fang Yun feel a sense of nostalgia and intimacy for the four girls. At the same time, he couldn't help but have the urge to communicate with them. Although he is in a snake body, his soul is still human. He lived alone in this forest without communicating with anyone for so long, making him depressed. Now that he finally met people, he couldn't help but want to talk to the other party. However, he immediately pressed this idea to the back of his mind. After all, he is now a snake, without mentioning that rushing out will definitely scare them, he still has no way of communicating with them. Ring, target locked, human, primate, each one can provide 3000 bioenergy. While Fang Yun was thinking, the sound of the system sounded in his mind, which made him speechless, because he does not intend to swallow humans. And without mentioning that he can't do that with his current small body, even if he could, he would absolutely not do so. After all, he was once a human. Call, Xiao Ning, have you ever seen this situation when you climbed the mountain with your parents? Chen Meng, who was pulled back by her girlfriends, finally recovered her senses, then directly asked Meng Ning by her side. Her big eyes looking strangely at Fang Yun and the squirrel on the top of her head. Standing next to her, Zhang Wei and Song Ran, after hearing Chen Meng question, also looked at Meng Ning with curiosity. Seeing that her girlfriends are looking at her, Meng Ning smiled and then shook her head. She had never seen this scene before. According to her previous knowledge, squirrels are on snakes' menu, not to mention living together in a nest. As long as the two meet, the squirrel will immediately escape for his dear life. Sisters, I told you that we should go climb mountains. Did you see what kind of rare sight we stumbled upon? Chen Meng is very excited. A snake and a squirrel living together in a nest, and they get along so well. I am afraid that there are very few such cases in the whole natural world. Standing next to her, all her sisters nodded, and Song Ran and Meng Ning, who had forgotten to take pictures, also quickly took out their mobile phones and took pictures of them. When Chen Meng saw this scene, she suddenly remembered that she is streaming, lifting her selfie stick to see the situation in the live room. At this moment, her live room is completely messed up. Everyone is asking about her situation and if she was injured, or if she wants them to contact emergency services. Thank you for your concern, but Xiao Meng didn't experience any harm, so you don't have to worry. Chen Meng looked at the camera and said with a sweet smile, right, I'm going to show everyone something very interesting. But first of all, I'm reminding you that you have to stand still and mustn't fall from your chairs. What Chen Meng said caused a series of question marks to appear on the screen of her mobile phone. Chen Meng did not hold their appetite anymore. She directly turned the lens to Fang Yun, who was still in the tree hole opposite. When Fang Yun and the squirrel hanging on his head appeared on the screen, the chat in the live room completely stopped for a moment, but in the next moment, it exploded, completely filling the screen. My god, a snake and a squirrel. Together. I didn't expect to see that in my life. That squirrel's courage is really fat enough, actually hug the head of that snake. Wow, this snake and squirrel are so funny, look at their eyes, stupidly looking at the camera. They are definitely in love, they look just like a couple, the squirrel holding the snake's head looks just like a girl holding a guy hand. Do you really think that? For me, I guess that this squirrel is just the dry food that the snake has prepared for itself. Quote. Seeing this rare scene, the fans in the live room are not calm, some people are crazily sending messages, and some people directly sent a vast amount of gifts. The mobile phone screen was directly filled by various gifts, causing even the chat to be blocked. Some people even directly rewarded bamboo trees at this time. You have to know that, according to the rules of the Sukatake Live platform, as long as someone rewards a bamboo tree, there will be a small animation display on the platform homepage to attract people to the live room. As soon as someone clicks on the small animation, he will immediately be transferred to the corresponding live room. After Chen Meng fans rewarded her with bamboo trees, the people who clicked on the small animation were directly scared by the number of gifts flashing on the screen. Only after blocking the gift notification were they able to see the scene in the phone screen. Of course, the people who just entered the live broadcast were immediately shocked after seeing Fang Yun and the squirrel hanging on top of his head. All of a sudden, Chen Meng live room became even more lively, with the number of viewers rising from the beginning of 10,000 to 50,000, and new people are still entering Chen Meng live room every second. If Chen Meng sees this number of people watching, she will definitely be surprised, because even if she has more 70,000 fans, the number of online viewers during a single live broadcast is only 40,000 maximum. This time, due to Fang Yun and Xiaoma presence, the number of online viewers in her live broadcast reached a new height, without mentioning the fact that her fans are also increasing every second. While Chen Meng was busy with her live broadcast, Fang Yun on the opposite side stared at the camera with surprise. That is, live broadcast. He saw the picture on the mobile phone. After seeing the chat screen and the massive amount of gifts, he suddenly remembered the live broadcast that he used to frequently watch in his past life. What he did not expect was that this world entertainment industry has such things as live broadcast as well. The girl who was previously scared by himself seems to be a streamer. Ring, the host successfully earned 1 reputation, rewarding 1 skill point. Ring, the host successfully earned 10 reputation points, rewarding 2 skill points. Ring, the host successfully earned 100 reputation points, rewarding 3 skill points. Ring, the host successfully earned 1000 reputation points, rewarding 4 skill points. Ring, detecting that the host skill points has reached 14 points. Currently, there are 4 skills available for upgrade. Do you want to view them? Suddenly, Fang Yun's mind suddenly sounded a series of system notifications, causing him to be shocked. Did his reputation value finally increase? Chapter 19. Strengthening Determination. Translator. Ymir Moon. System, bring up my properties panel. After a momentary shock, Fang Yun quickly snapped back and called the system in his mind. He did not expect that his first increase in reputation was actually in such a funny way. He chose to live with the squirrel because he thought that the tree hole has enough space, easily able to accommodate him and the squirrel. Furthermore, he can also use the other party as a companion, adding a little color to his dull and boring life. But he did not expect that the scene of his cohabitation with the squirrel will be seen by people. Furthermore, it's still an outdoor streamer, which brought attention to himself and increased his reputation value. Suddenly, a flash of light flashed in Fang Yun's mind. He has been wondering about what methods he can use to increase his reputation. His current experience has given him some inspiration. Perhaps he can increase his reputation without entering human society. At this moment, a light curtain appeared in his mind, making him converge his thoughts. Host property list. Level 5. Bioenergy 180/250ths. Skill points 14. Body length 1 meter. Diameter 2.8 centimeters. Power 2.0. Defense 1.0. Speed 1.5. Agile 2.0. Spirit 3.0. Physical strength 2.8. Skills Fatal Venom 2/5. Reputation value 5,241 10 millionths. More than 5,000 reputation value. Seeing the number behind the column of reputation, Fang Yun got very surprised. He was exposed to a live broadcast for less than a minute, but he already got this much reputation value. What's even more unexpected is that the increase in reputation value can actually earn skill points. According to the notification previously displayed by the system, it can be seen that for a different amount of reputation value, the system rewards a different amount of points. For 1 reputation point the system rewards 1 skill point, for 10 reputation point the system rewards 2 skill points, and so on and on. The next time he reaches 10,000 reputation point he will get 5 skill points. But as he is watching the increase in his reputation point, his heart sank. Gradually, his reputation growth rate has begun to slow down. At this rate, it's almost impossible to grow to 10,000 points today. It seems that the popularity of this girl's stream is about to reach the limit. Thinking for a moment, Fang Yun immediately thought of the answer. He hesitated in his mind. Should he do something unusual, earning him more points on this rare opportunity? Although the popularity of this girl's stream has reached the limit, if he reveals something special, he will definitely cause an uproar, thus increasing his reputation points. However, after careful consideration, he still pressed this impulse. A snake and a squirrel cohabitation can still be explained through the magic of nature, but if he were to act in a supernatural way, for example writing on the ground, something a snake should never be able to do, he will surely attract the wrong kind of attention. Although he does need reputation, he doesn't want to be caught in a laboratory for research. Squeak! Suddenly, the squirrel hanging on his head, feeling that the 4 girls opposite doesn't seem to be a threat, jumped out from the tree hole to the tree branches, and then after several more jumps, fell on the ground. Then disappeared in the jungle. Oh, the squirrel ran away. After seeing the squirrel jump and leave, the 4 girls standing opposite exclaimed, somewhat disappointed. Then, their eyes fell back on Fang Yun. Since reputation temporarily can't be improved, I shouldn't stay in this hole anymore. Fang Yun glanced at the 4 girls opposite. The opportunity to increase his own reputation value is in sight, but for his own personal safety, he still has to give up this opportunity. As for waiting for the next opportunity to come, he doesn't know how long it will take. Taking a deep breath, Fang Yun slowly crawled down the tree. Under the vigilant eyes of the 4 girls, Fang Yun disappeared into the forest. Since he can't stay here anymore, he won't continue to waste his time. It's a pity that I won't be able to stay with Xiaoma again. Fang Yun thought sadly. Evolution, I have to evolve quickly. Fang Yun couldn't help but have a feeling of grievance. He is too weak right now, not only that he can't guarantee his survival, but he even had to give up on the opportunity to acquire reputation value because of scruples. I am still too weak right now. If I was strong enough, I don't have to worry about anything at all. If someone dares to plot against me, I could use force to crush him. So for now, I have to devour more prey and speed up the upgrade. Chen Meng and her 3 girlfriends watched as Fang Yun's figure slowly disappeared into the jungle, and all had a feeling of wonder. When they snapped out of their reverie, Fang Yun has long disappeared. They were surprised because this is the first time they saw a snake watching them calmly, without hissing at them or running away. Sister Wei, Xiaoning, how do I feel that snake is not afraid of us at all? Chen Meng said with some surprise, still looking at the direction at which Fang Yun disappeared. Although snakes are a scary animal, they are usually very timid. When they meet with people, they will generally take the initiative to escape. But Chen Meng felt that the snake they met did not seem to be afraid of them. Zhang Wei, Meng Ning, and Song Ran nodded. They also have this feeling. You could say that their feeling is indeed very accurate. Perhaps they didn't care much about it. A few women did not care much, even going to an open place to sit down. Meng Ning took out a bag of Logar powder from her backpack and sprinkled it on the floor, then spread a mat and called her girlfriends. Sister Wei, Xiao Meng, Sister Ran, come over to Aya. It's finally time to eat. Song Ran eyes lit up, running towards Meng Ning, sitting down on the mat, picking up a sandwich and then wildly eating it. Climbing for a long time, I'm really hungry. Feeling the judging gaze of Meng Ning, Song Ran said innocently. But I'm really hungry. Followed by Zhang Wei, who came to see Song Ran gorging on her food, causing her to smile, then in a very ladylike manner sitting down, picking a sandwich and eating it elegantly, then calling Chen Meng. Xiao Chen, hurry up or nothing will be left for you. Coming, Chen Meng said to Zhang Wei, and then turning the mobile phone to herself. When she saw the number of online viewers in the live room, she couldn't help but be shocked. Up to now, the number of online viewers in her live room has exceeded 70,000. And her registered fans have exceeded 100,000. OMG, I didn't expect my subscribers to reach 100,000. Chen Meng was delighted. Having 100,000 subscribers on the live platform is already among the first-line streamers. Although she does live broadcasts just for fun, but accumulating so many fans this quickly caused her to have a sense of accomplishment. Taking a deep breath, Chen Meng calmed down her racing heart and excitedly smiled at the camera, saying, "Thank you all for watching, we will meet again next time." After Chen Meng's voice fell, a variety of surprised and reluctant comments quickly flooded the screen. Xiao Meng now is the most popular time in the live broadcast, cutting off the stream right now will make you lose some fans. I was looking at the squirrels and the snake, so I didn't see the host, sending 10 bamboo branches as a new fan. Xiao Meng, you still stream for a while, to stabilize your popularity. Seeing the retention of many fans in the live room, Chen Meng said that she was moved, but still insisted on ending the live broadcast, finally closing the stream. After putting the phone back in her pocket, Chen Meng walked toward Meng Ning, Song Ran, and Zhang Wei. "Sister Wei, what are you doing?" She saw that Zhang Wei took out her laptop, putting it on her lap, using it with one hand and eating with the other one. "I am going to send the photo of the squirrel and snake that I took before to the editor of the Legendary magazine to see if it can be published in the Legendary magazine's field photography column." Zhang Hao raised her head and said to Chen Meng with a smile. Chen Meng's eyes brightened, then said, "Sister Wei, this time the picture you took will definitely be published." Meng Ning and Song Ran on the side also nodded in affirmation. Seeing this, Zhang Wei smiled excitedly. She is determined to be a field photographer and has always wanted to publish her work in a magazine, but she has never succeeded before. After all, the places she used to go before are just ordinary mountains and forests. Most of the scenes that she captured can be easily seen in the wild, resulting in no explosive content, so they are rejected every time. But this time it's different. The scene of a snake and a squirrel cohabitating in the same nest was never captured before. Maybe this time she can really achieve her dreams. However, the previous rejection of her work still caused her to be very nervous. This time, will she really succeed? Chapter 20. New Skills. Translator. Ymir Moon. For the things happening among the four girls, Fang Yun didn't know. At this moment he is looking at his skill points. The increase in his reputation value has earned him a lot of skill points. Plus the 4 points he got from the last evolution, now his skill points have reached a total of 14 points. Skill points are especially important for him now, as they can help him improve his strength. I don't know if any new skill will be refreshed this time. Fang Yun thought expectantly. In the last evolution, he expected new skills to appear, but the 4 skill points reward that he received were not enough to do so. Of course, it's also possible that the skills that are given by the system, for now, are only discoloration camouflage and fatal venom. Thinking of this, Fang Yun couldn't help but feel nervous. System, show the currently available skills. While Fang Yun was waiting with a nervous face, in the next moment, a light curtain appeared in his mind. On the light curtain, there is a line of text. The current skill points can upgrade the following 4 skills. Discoloration camouflage. Active skills. Choosing this skill, the body skin color will change into a color similar to the surrounding environment according to the instructions of the host. Each upgrade consumes 3 points. Current level, 0/5. Fatal Venom. Active skills. Choosing this skill, you will grow to a fangtooth, with which you can use venom to kill your opponent. The attack power will improve. Each upgrade consumes 3 points. Current level, 2/5. Fast Digestion. Passive skills. Choosing this skill, the host's ability to digest will be multiplied. As long as there is food swallowed into the abdomen, this skill will automatically start. Each upgrade consumes 5 points. Current level, 0/5. Skin Resistance. Passive skills. With this skill, the host's skin will become stronger and have both anti-inflammatory and cold resistance. Each upgrade consumes 8 points. Current level, 0/5. After browsing the system notifications, Fang Yun was immediately overjoyed. There are indeed new skills. And one of the skills is exactly what he needs the most right now. Quick digestion. While hunting, he spends a lot of time digesting food after each successful hunt. This not only wastes his hunting time and efficiency but also greatly increase his risk in the wild. After all, after eating, his body will become very clumsy, causing his speed and agility to plummet. This skill should solve his troubles in this regard. He is also very interested in the other new skill, skin resistance. This skill can not only enhance his defense but also increase his resistance to cold and heat, therefore solving another problem of his, that being heavily affected by the outside temperature. After thinking carefully, Fang Yun activated the two new skills. A warm feeling flowed in his body and on his scales, but it didn't take long for this feeling to disappear. Unlike the excruciating pain of evolution, activating skills don't bring him pain at all. He twisted his tail and rubbed his body on a piece of slab-sized gravel. Sure enough, I feel that my scales have become harder. Rubbing his body on the gravel, Fang Yun felt the friction on his scales, sighing in amazement. At the same time, he also found that his scales became more lustrous. Immediately, he went to a place exposed to sunlight. As the hot sun shines on his body, he tried to perceive the effect of the heat on his body, and sure enough, he doesn't feel as hot anymore. He knows that this is the change that the skill, skin resistance, brought to him. Even after only one upgrade, it has improved his defense tremendously, but unfortunately, this skill requires 8 skill points for each additional upgrade. After my next evolution, I will get 5 skill points, thought Fang Yun. Although the points he will receive in the next evolution can't meet the standard for the skill, skin resistance, but he can add them to the skill, quick digestion. Quick digestion is also a skill that he particularly likes. System, expand my attributes list, thought Fang Yun in his mind. A light curtain immediately appeared in his mind. Host property list, level 5, bioenergy, 180/250ths. Skill points, 1, body length, 1 meter, diameter, 2.8 centimeters, power, 2.0, defense, 4.0, speed, 1.5, agile, 2.0, spirit, 3.0, physical strength, 2.8, skills, deadly venom 2/5, skin resistance 1/5, fast digestion 1/5. Reputation value, 7,122 10 millionths. 180 bioenergy points, only 70 more points to evolve. Fang Yun's eyes sparkled with brilliance. Now that he has activated the skill, quick digestion, relatively speaking, his hunting time will increase a lot. If he is lucky, he may be able to hunt enough prey to evolve today. While thinking about today hunting, his gaze fell on the defensive value column. The value behind it became 4.0. Fang Yun is sure that the last time it was only 1.0. Suddenly there is a 4-fold defense increase, which surprised him, but then he is clear that this is the credit of the skill, skin resistance. Now it seems that if he wants to increase his defense value in the future, it's better to rely on defensive skills to so. After thinking for a while, Fang Yun converged his thoughts and started to search for prey. Okay. Suddenly, Fang Yun stopped searching. He turned his head to the side, only to discover that not far away from here, a frog with a diameter of 10 centimeters is crouching. The color of its body helped it blend with the surrounding environment. Without carefully looking, most people won't be able to find it. Ring, horned frog, amphibious, no tail, can provide 10 bioenergy points. While Fang Yun was staring at the horned frog, the sound of the system sounded in his mind. Looking at the frog crouching in the grass, Fang Yun slowly slithered toward it. This kind of frog was a very popular pet frog in his past life because of its strange body shape, having a short body but with a giant mouth, occupying almost half of its body. Fang Yun remembered this frog simply because, in his past life, he saw this kind of frog in a classmate's house. After 2 minutes of stalking, Fang Yun was merely 30 centimeters away from the horned frog. His body suddenly tightened, and then attacked with his mouth wide open, biting on the horned frog. Although horned frogs are a kind of pet frog, they are very violent and powerful. In addition to eating insects, small animals such as birds and mice are on their menu. If it's hungry, it can even eat its own kind. At the moment when Fang Yun bit it, the horned frog immediately jumped up, madly struggling, trying to get rid of Fang Yun's bite. However, at the moment this horned frog was bitten by the sharp teeth of Fang Yun, its fate has already been decided. Its current struggle is merely the struggle of a dying beast. After 2 minutes of mad struggle, the horned frog finally stopped moving, becoming a meal in Fang Yun's stomach. Letting out a sigh of relief, as Fang Yun felt the feeling of fullness in his stomach, he couldn't help getting excited. Only the beginning and already got 10 bioenergy point, only 60 more left to upgrade. His body crawled in another direction, looking for other preys. This time, he found a mouse hole. Flicking his tongue, Fang Yun drilled into the mouse hole. The lower he crawled, the more obvious the mouse smell was. It looks like he is going to get quite an amount of bioenergy. Chapter 21. Crazy Hunting. Translator. Ymir Moon. After 3 minutes of crawling, Fang Yun finally reached the end, looking across the corner. Squeak, squeak. A sharp cry rang. Ring, target locked, vole, type, mammals, family, rodent, can provide 15 bioenergy point. At the moment the sound of the system rang, Fang Yun launched an attack directly, biting the mouse, then slamming it toward the ground. 15 bioenergy obtained. From the next evolution, only 45 bioenergy point remains. Calming down his excited mood, Fang Yun quickly dragged the vole out of the cave. No way, the stench in this vole hole is too stinky. Although becoming a snake made him have great resistance to most bad smells, but Fang Yun still has a feeling of disgust nonetheless. So if he doesn't have to stay in this place, he won't do so. After some time, Fang Yun dragged the vole out of the hole, then slowly swallowed it. After swallowing the vole, Fang Yun did not choose to continue hunting. Eating a horned frog and a vole in succession made his abdomen swell up. He needs to digest the food in his stomach before he can continue hunting. Lying at the entrance of the mouse hole, Fang Yun quietly waited for the digestion of the voles and horned frogs in his body. However, what surprised him was that he completely digested them in less half an hour, causing his abdomen to flatten and restoring his ability to move. If it were before, digesting both the horned frog and vole would need at least half an hour. In other words, after activating the skill, Quick Digestion, he increased his digestive ability by 3 folds. Just 3 more voles and I would meet the requirement for evolution. Fang Yun couldn't help but get excited, determining the previous position according to his memories and crawling in that direction. When he passed by there previously, he found many mice nests. However, at that time, he was already full and couldn't hunt anymore, so he just remembered the location of the mice's lair and didn't disturb them. Right now, he needs food, and naturally, he will not let go of these mice. After almost 10 minutes rushing, Fang Yun arrived at the location of the first mouse nest. Flicking his tongue, trying to determine if the nest owner is there, and then climbing down straight into the mouse nest. And sure enough, there is a mouse lying in the nest. However, this mouse is more sensitive than the previous vole. When Fang Yun attacked him with his mouth wide open, the other side jumped to the side, causing him to just scratch him on his hind legs. Then by jumping on the walls of the tunnel, he bypassed Fang Yun and ran out to the distance. Snakes usually catch prey by attacking their opponents in an instant then biting them, keeping a hold of them with their strong jaws. If the prey escapes from their attacking range, they will generally not pursue it. However, after the mouse escaped, Fang Yun did not hesitate to pursue it. Now that his physical attributes have reached 2.8 points. Under his full speed, he can continue running for more than 2 hours and still has enough physical strength to hunt down the mouse. The mouse ran out of the hole and ran crazily to the distance. However, soon after, Fang Yun caught up with the mouse, biting it and slamming it onto the ground, then quickly wrapping around it and constricting. After this period of exercise, Fang Yun's constriction skill has made great progress. Even if the opponent is struggling, he can quickly wrap his body around him. 2 minutes later, the mouse stopped moving. After swallowing the mouse, Fang Yun is ready to continue hunting. But what surprised him was that when he followed the route in his memory, arriving at the next mouse nest, he found that it was empty. Maybe the mouse in this nest went out to look for food, thought Fang Yun. Fang Yun patiently went to the next mouse nest. But after exploring 3 mice nests consecutively, and not finding any mouse, he felt that something was wrong. Finally, in one of the mice nests, he smelled his kind smell. Obviously, the mice in these nests have already been eaten by a predator previously. After returning empty-handed every time, Fang Yun couldn't help but feel a little frustrated, but fortunately, he eventually caught a tiger frog. This tiger frog gave him 10 bioenergy points. Overall, the prey he hunted today provided him with a total of 50 bioenergy point, meaning that only 20 points remain for his next evolution. But his following hunting trip let him doubt whether his good luck has come to an end. 2 hours passed, and he did not catch even a single prey. And now, the sun is already setting, it will be night in a few hours. A red glow penetrated the relatively sparse canopy of the tree and fell on Fang Yun's body. Originally, he planned to capture enough prey to start his 5th evolution today, but now it seems that it's not possible anymore. Sighing with disappointment, Fang Yun began return to the pine tree. When he came back to the big pine tree, he got slightly surprised. Because he found that the 4 girls he met before are actually still here, but at the moment they are packing up, it seems that they are ready to leave. Xiao Ning, Sister Wei, Sister Ran, look there, that snake is back. From the corner of her eye, Chen Meng noticed Fang Yun, who had returned and immediately greeted him. Thanks to you and the little squirrel, my live broadcast fans broke through the 100,000 marks. Live well, next time we will come back to see you. Goodbye. When Chen Meng greeted Fang Yun, Song Ran, Zhang Wei, and Meng Ning all waved their hands to Fang Yun, saying goodbye. Then the 4 women picked up the rest of their food and bags, returning from their original road. Fang Yun climbed over a large stone and looked at their back. Looking at the appearance of these 4 girls, it is clear that there must be villages or towns where humans live in the vicinity of this mountain. Otherwise, they won't go down the mountain at this time, rather they won't even stay to this time, as it's almost dark. Therefore, Fang Yun is sure that there is a place where humans live in the vicinity of this mountain. For a moment, Fang Yun couldn't help but have the impulse to follow the 4 girls, fleeing this cold and ruthless jungle, and then returning to the human society. But he soon calmed down. I am a snake now. Human society is no longer suitable for me. Only the jungle that I hate is the best place for me to survive in and grow. Taking a deep breath, Fang Yun is ready to climb down this big stone and then return to his nest. However, at the moment when he turned his head back, he couldn't help but shiver. His danger signals are warning him that there is danger nearby. Chapter 22, 5th Evolution. Translator, Ymir Moon. Hiss. A snake's hissing sounded, but it was not from Fang Yun, the sound came from behind him. He turned his head, looking in the direction the sound came from. The moment he saw what's behind him, he tightened his muscles. Currently, facing him is a snake. And this snake, he is very familiar with it, it's the bamboo green snake that he often meets not far from the pine tree. He had met with this bamboo green snake several times, but every time, each one minded his own business, but this time, it doesn't seem so. He sensed a dangerous vibe from this snake eyes. Suddenly, this bamboo green snake lifted its head, its eyes are tightly staring at Fang Yun. This is clearly an attacking posture. At the moment, this snake is only half a meter away from him. If he did not feel that something is wrong and turned to look back time, he might have already been attacked by this snake. Ring, target locked, bamboo green snake, reptile, squama, can provide 40 bio-energy point. While Fang Yun was glaring at the opposite bamboo green snake, the system prompt sounded in his mind. When he heard the prompt of the system, Fang Yun couldn't help but smile wryly. If the opposite is a black snake, which is non-venomous, he will definitely launch an attack without hesitation, but at the moment it's a bamboo green snake that he is facing. The type of snake belongs to the venomous snake species. He previously saw the detailed information of this snake. While the bite of this type of snakes is not deadly, but they can cause nausea, dizziness and even shock. But, that is taking into account the human body size. While the bamboo green snake bite doesn't cause death, but that only for human-sized creatures, for him it's not likely to be the case. The reason why this bamboo green snake chose to hunt him this time, unlike minding its own business like always, may be related to the lack of food nearby. Small animals like frogs, mice, lizards, etc., were swept clean by him. For ordinary snakes, a single mouse is enough for them to spend a week. Therefore, this bamboo green snake never had to worry about a lack of prey. But once Fang Yun settled here, he hunted prey every day. Nowadays, in the area near the pine tree, small animals are rarely seen. If this bamboo green snake does not go to other areas to hunt, then it may have to go hungry. So technically he could be said to be the root cause of this snake hunger. However, Fang Yun didn't feel any guilt. Sorry, this is the law of the jungle, the rule of the fittest. Hiss. Fang Yun also raised his head and hissed back at the snake. He did not take this action for the purpose of attacking but wanted to warn the bamboo green snake through this kind of attack posture, that he is not to be messed with. At the same time, he began to slowly retreat backward, not taking his eyes off this snake. Fang Yun did not want to fight with this venomous snake, as that would be rather dangerous. However, what made his heart sink was that after he retreated, this snake still didn't take his warning seriously and chased him. Damn, do you really think that I'm afraid of you? Fang Yun couldn't help but get angry. He had already retreated, but this bamboo green snake was still chasing him. both of us are venomous snakes, it's still early to decide who will die. Moreover, his skill, Fatal Venom, has tremendously increased the efficacy of his venom after 2 upgrades, even if it is a creature like a skunk, who has a high tolerance to venom, was poisoned to death in only 2 minutes. As for the bamboo green snake in front of him, if he were to bit it, it will take even less than that for it to die. Coupled with his own defense after activating the skill, Skin Resistance. If the 2 of them were to battle, his winning percentage is much higher than it. The only reason he wanted to avoid this battle is because of his cautious nature, but now he won't avoid it anymore. Thinking of this, Fang Yun slowly tightened his body, his eyes not leaving the body of the opposite snake, ready to dodge and counterattack anytime. Hiss! The opposite bamboo green snake suddenly launched an attack. Its speed reaching the limit, in the blink of an eye, it has arrived in front of Fang Yun. However, Fang Yun's agility is also not to be underestimated, shrinking his head back, directly dodging the attack of this bamboo green snake. While dodging the attack of this bamboo green snake, Fang Yun slowly retreated toward the rear. The opposite bamboo snake is continuously biting toward Fang Yun, but every attack will be perfectly dodged by Fang Yun. With the continuous attack of the bamboo snake, its attack speed is slowly decreasing, obviously, it's slowly getting tired. Suddenly, the bamboo green snake bit toward the ground. Opportunity, thought Fang Yun. Seizing the opportunity, Fang Yun attacked the bamboo snake, biting toward its neck. Hiss! The opposite bamboo green snake made a hissing sound, its head subconsciously sliding toward the back, but as it was tired, it couldn't make it, resulting in being directly bitten by Fang Yun. At the moment he bit this bamboo green snake, Fang Yun injected his venom into its body. And his biting position is also very particular, just slightly below the bamboo snake head. Fang Yun bit the snake at this position because it will make it impossible for the snake to turn and bite him back. After the bamboo green snake was bitten, it trashed madly, struggling to break away from him. However, Fang Yun didn't loosen, but instead bit tighter. After a half-minute of struggle, when Fang Yun began to feel that his teeth were sour, the struggle of this bamboo green snake gradually became weaker. After another minute it stopped moving. Immediately, Fang Yun stopped biting, letting it drop on the ground. The bamboo snake laid on the ground, motionless, its eyes dull. After resting for a moment, Fang Yun began to swallow it, starting from its head. Only this snake is longer than his body, more than 1.5 meters. Fang Yun managed to swallow more than half of its body, before feeling full, causing the lower half of its tail to hang out of his mouth. But, Fang Yun didn't mind, he was preparing to rest until the body in his stomach has been digested, and then swallowing the rest of the snake. Back in the tree hole, Fang Yun laid on the floor, waiting for the bamboo snake to be digested. After almost an hour, he completely digested the snake. Ring, the host has successfully acquired 40 bioenergy point. When he heard this sound, Fang Yun couldn't help but smile, quietly waiting for the next message to appear. Sure enough, he didn't wait for long, the system voice sounded again. Ring, detecting that the host has enough bioenergy, the host evolutionary conditions are reached. This evolution will take 10 minutes, the host should ensure the safety of the surrounding environment. Do you want to undergo this evolution? Fang Yun did not hesitate at all, immediately said, evolve. After his sound fell, a warm current immediately appeared, touring his body, causing it to gradually become hotter. However, his current pain tolerance isn't comparable to before, this level of pain doesn't cause him much trouble anymore. He slowly rubbed his body against the tree wall. 10 minutes later, a layer of snakeskin slowly fell behind him. Seeing this snakeskin, Fang Yun could not help getting excited. System, bring up my properties panel. He wants to see what changes his 5th evolution have brought him. Chapter 23, Seasonal Change. Translator, Ymir Moon. _ Host property list. Level, 6. Bioenergy, 21 thousandths. Skill points, 6. Body length, 1.5 meters. Diameter, 3.6 centimeters. Power, 3.0. Defense, 5.0. Speed, 2.5. Agile, 3.0. Spirit, 4.0. Physical strength, 3.8. Skills, Fatal Venom 2/5, Skin Resistance 1/5, Fast Digestion 1/5. Reputation Value, 7,122 10 millionths. _ Sure enough, after this evolution, my body length directly reached 1.5 meters. After checking his size growth, Fang Yun let out a sigh of relief. In fact, even before the evolution, he has already guessed how much he will grow. The result is exactly the same as he expected. In addition to his body length, another aspect that Fang Yun cares about is his diameter. After this evolution, his diameter has reached 3.6 centimeters. Now, he can probably swallow creatures with more than 10 centimeters in diameter. Fang Yun also looked at his other properties, which has pretty good growth. But, this time I have to accumulate 1000 bioenergy point to undergo my 6th evolution. Although the growth of most of his various properties made him happy, the growth of one particular property made him depressed, which is obviously the required bioenergy for evolution. He has some doubts about whether the prey in his territory is enough for him to undergo his next evolution. However, Fang Yun quickly cheered up. After all, this isn't something he can change, and can only accept it honestly. After honestly accepting his fate, he looked over the rest of his properties. Eventually, his gaze fell on the skill points column. His accumulated points have reached 6 points. Except for the skill, skin resistance, he has 2 other skills to upgrade. Either, he can upgrade the skill, quick digestion, 1 time, or he can upgrade the skill, fatal venom, 2 times. However, he is somewhat uncertain which one to upgrade. Which one does he need the most right now? After contemplating for a while, he finally chose the skill, quick digestion. With his current size, the opponents he faces aren't that big, his venom toxicity should suffice for now. Squeak. Suddenly, a questioning cry broke Fang Yun's train of thoughts, pulling him back to reality. Looking at the direction from which the sound came from, he couldn't help but smile. The squirrel came back. Currently, the latter is staring at him with suspicion, seemingly doubting his size increase. However, it looks like he hasn't forgotten his previous size increase, because after staring at him for a while, he didn't care anymore, returning to his resting corner and taking his own harvest from his cheek pouch. Fang Yun coiled his body. Now he can only do so in order to stay in this tree hole. After all, if he doesn't do so, he will make it difficult for Xiaoma to do his own thing. Furthermore, as a snake, he doesn't have any discomfort with coiling his body, so he doesn't mind doing that to help Xiaoma. Time flies. 7 days has passed. There was another rainfall 5 days ago, but it only lasted for 3 days before the sun rose again, but Fang Yun felt that weather isn't as hot as before. The weather is cooling down. After some observation, Fang Yun came to this conclusion. At the same time, he also found that many deciduous trees are shedding their leaves. He guessed that it's time to change seasons. After coming to this conclusion, Fang Yun couldn't help but worry. As a snake, if the temperature drops, his body function will also drop. When the temperature falls to a certain level, he will have to hibernate, or more specifically brumate, which is the process in which cold-blooded animals slow down their metabolism to an extreme level. More importantly, snakes don't just simply find someplace to hibernate in. Instead, they chose a dry place. Then dozens of snakes gathered together to hibernate together, because once a snake chose to hibernate by itself, then the likelihood of its survival is close to none. And even snakes that gather together to hibernate are in danger as well. If the place they chose to hibernate in is discovered by even animals as small as mice, then there is a big chance that they will be eaten by them as a snack. Don't just think that mice don't eat meat, they are omnivores, that means they eat as well. Therefore, in order to guarantee his own safety, Fang Yun must not fall in hibernation. Hidden in a dense bush, a gray snake is closely watching a creature not far away, with its head slightly raised, motionless like a sculpture. The creature that the snake is watching is a big bird, but it has a long gorgeous tail and beautiful feathers. This big bird is obviously a pheasant. Ring, target locked, pheasant, bird, Phasianine, can provide 80 bioenergy. While Fang Yun was staring at this pheasant, the system mechanical voice sounded in his mind. This time, the prey that Fang Yun is preparing to hunt is this pheasant. Now that he thinks about it, when he was only 20 centimeters he once met a pheasant like this in the mountains. At that time he could only hide between dead leaves and pray that the pheasant doesn't find him. However, now it's him who is going to prey on this pheasant. The pheasant on the opposite side was leisurely looking for food on the ground, not knowing that his death is near. As Fang Yun is hiding in the bushes, the pheasant is getting closer and closer. When the distance between them reached only half a meter, Fang Yun tightened his muscles, then attacked, biting the pheasant neck in the blink of an eye. The pheasant neck is covered with thick hair, making it difficult to inject venom in its bloodstream. However, Fang Yun did not intend to poison this pheasant in the first place. While biting the pheasant neck, he wrapped his body around its body and the constricted. In an instant, this pheasant was dropped into the ground by Fang Yun. Coo, coo. This pheasant struggled, making a sharp scream, but in dozens of seconds, it couldn't do so anymore. Under the constriction of Fang Yun, it could not inhale, causing it to be unable to make noises anymore. Finally, the pheasant stopped moving, dead. Unwrapping his body, Fang Yun started swallowing the pheasant from its head. After swallowing the pheasant, Fang Yun's body swelled by more than 4 times, making people wonder whether he would burst. However, Fang Yun did not have such a worry. He crawled between the bushes, finding a hidden corner, he chose to rest there. Less than half an hour later, he completely digested the pheasant. After upgrading the skill, quick digestion, his digestive ability has indeed grown a lot. Ring, the host successfully gained 80 bioenergy. When he heard the mechanical sound of the system, Fang Yun, who was staring blankly at the air, snapped back to reality. With these 80 points, my total bioenergy has reached a total of 320 points. Crawling between the bushes, he couldn't help but think about how much bioenergy he has accumulated. These days of crazy hunting caused the prey in this area to nearly disappear. While searching for prey today, he didn't find any small animal like frogs or mice. Fortunately, he found this pheasant, granting him 80 bioenergy point. I have to widen my hunting range further, Fang Yun thought while looking at the forest around him. As Fang Yun crawled further and further, the forest is becoming sparser and sparser. Chapter 24. Snatching Prey. Translator. Ymir Moon. Fang Yun sneakily crawled through the grass, stopping from time to check the smell around and look up at the situation on the sky. He has already drilled out from the lush bushes, plus there aren't many trees or bushes to cover him, so he is clearly visible from the sky. As the temperature continues to fall, he is about to face a particularly big problem, hibernation. As a snake who doesn't want to hibernate, Fang Yun feels that he doesn't have much time left. According to what he has learned, snakes become less active at 15 degrees Celsius or 59 degrees Fahrenheit, mostly moving to warmer places. If the temperature drops below 10 degrees Celsius or 50 degrees Fahrenheit, most snakes will choose to hibernate. According to Fang Yun's speculation, this time is likely to be the end of summer, early autumn. In the near future the temperature is likely to drop sharply. After all, this is in the mountains. Therefore, before the temperature begins to plummet, he must be prepared accordingly. Evolution. The only way to avoid hibernation is through evolving. Of course, it's not that after Fang Yun evolves he will automatically gain resistance to cold, therefore not needing to hibernate, but after evolving, he will be awarded skill points, and with these skill points, he will upgrade the skill, skin resistance. This skill has 3 major effects, among which there is cold resistance, which will be crucial for resisting cold, therefore not having to hibernate. While Fang Yun was thinking about countermeasures, he didn't stop crawling and searching for prey. Now his accumulated bioenergy is only 320 point, still a long way from the 1000 point goal. Suddenly, Fang Yun stopped crawling. Looking across of him, there is a creature. Target locked. Hedgehog, species, mammal, family, Aranacini, can provide 20 bioenergy point. The creature that appeared in front of Fang Yun is about 25 centimeters long, with a fat body and a short, narrow eye, also covered with spurs. It's a hedgehog. Just as Fang Yun was staring at the hedgehog also discovered Fang Yun. The hedgehog did not escape, but instead curled into a ball, with his spurs standing up, like sharp steel needles. Seeing this scene, Fang Yun dispelled the idea of preying on this hedgehog and left. If he were to bite onto the hedgehog this time, his mouth will turn into a sieve. After leaving the hedgehog, Fang Yun continued to search around. Originally, he hoped that he would meet with a relatively large animal such as the previous pheasant, but unfortunately, he didn't have that luck. But along the way, he met with a lot of frogs. Most of these frogs are small ones of 3 to 4 centimeters, but adding them all, he obtained a total of 30 bioenergy point. Making his bioenergy points reach a total of 350. Oh, suddenly, Fang Yun, who was crawling while flicking his tongue, stopped moving. Looking over to his left side, a creature is eating the grass, from time to time raising its head and looking around vigilantly. Target locked. Hare, mammal, lepus, can provide 100 bioenergy point. While Fang Yun was staring at the opposite hare, the mechanical sound of the system sounded in his mind. It turned out to be a hare. Fang Yun couldn't help but get excited. Today's luck is good. First, he encountered a pheasant, and now he met a hare. This hare is about 40 centimeters long and is especially fat, providing 100 bioenergy point. If he caught this hare and devoured it, his bioenergy point will reach a total of 450. However, hares can't be so easily caught. Hares are a particularly alert, extremely fast, and highly agile animal. He remembers seeing a video about a hare being chased by 2 wolves in his past life. As a result, after a long and grueling chase, just as the wolves seemed that they would catch the hare suddenly drifted, easily getting rid of the wolves' chase. Slowly crawling toward the hare, when Fang Yun was only about 1 meter away from it, the hare stopped eating the grass and then looked up. Hey! After looking around vigilantly, just as Fang Yun was about to let out a sigh of relief, the hare gaze suddenly landed right on him. When he saw this hare looking over to him, Fang Yun immediately knew he was discovered. Almost immediately, he launched a lightning-fast attack. Hiss! Fang Yun's speed is extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, his head reached the other side, biting straight at the hare legs. However, this hare slammed its legs on the ground, breaking away from Fang Yun's mouth and running into the distance. After a few seconds, the hare completely disappeared from Fang Yun's field of vision. Looking at the direction in which the wild rabbit fled, Fang Yun didn't feel any sort of annoyance, but instead slowly crawled into that direction. While crawling, Fang Yun flicked his tongue from time to time, trying to distinguish the smells in the air. After crawling about 400 to 500 meters, Fang Yun stopped moving, looking straight in front of him. He saw that not far from his position, a hare is lying on the ground, twitching from time to time. It's the previous hare that Fang Yun bit. At the moment he bit the hare, he injected his venom into its bloodstream through his fangs, and with that intense running, the venom must have spread through its body. As for the reason he was able to easily locate it, is because his venom reacting with the body of the hare released chemicals that he is able to trace back to the prey. Fang Yun crawled to the side of the hare, watching it as it trashed before its death. Finally, after the hare stopped moving, just as he opened his mouth preparing to swallow it. Suddenly, he heard a rustle in the bushes not far from his location. On his left side, just getting out of the bushes, a snake slowly crawled towards this side. This snake is about the same length as Fang Yun, with a brown back and 2 rows of dark spots. Mountain black snake. This is a black snake. Most importantly, Fang Yun felt that this is the snake he met before, the one that he met when he just came to this area and was expanding his territory. At that time, he was only 1 meter long, because this snake was longer than him, thus he wouldn't be able to swallow it, thus he didn't bother to try hunting it. 2 days ago, while he was patrolling his territory, he didn't find any trace of this snake, who would have thought that he would meet it now? And looking at the way this guy is behaving, does he want to snatch prey? Thinking of this, Fang Yun glared at the black snake, hissing at it, warning it that he isn't one to be messed with. While Fang Yun was glaring at the black snake, the system mechanical voice sounded in his mind. Target locked, mountain black snake, reptile, squama, can provide 80 bioenergy point. Chapter 25, Life and Death Battle. Translator, Ymir Moon. When he heard the system mechanical sound, looking at the black snake, Fang Yun's eyes changed. Originally, he just wanted to drive it away, but now after hearing the system prompt, he thinks that maybe, he can use this snake as his own food. Although the size and shape of this black snake are almost the same as himself, it's not venomous. Moreover, apart from the instantaneous burst of speed when they attack, speed is generally not the forte of snakes, plus the distance between them is not far. Even if the black snake wants to escape, he can quickly catch up. This is simply bioenergy sent to the door. Thinking of this, Fang Yun smiled internally, his eyes looking at the black snake, wondering where to bite first. At this time, the black snake opposite is still hissing at Fang Yun, seemingly wanting to drive him away, and occupying his hair. While this black snake was thinking about snatching his prey, Fang Yun was planning to eat it. It seems that because Fang Yun has no retreated, the black snake slowly crawled toward him, opening its mouth slightly, seemingly ready to attack. Seeing this scene, Fang Yun was a bit surprised. He did not take the initiative to attack, but this snake did. It seems that he was underestimated. While Fang Yun was a bit surprised, he still twisted his body, protecting the place slightly below his neck. This is one of the weak points, and the most dangerous one of snakes, the place where the heart is located. The so-called hit the 7 inches to kill the snake, which means to strike in its heart. Hiss. Suddenly, the black snake attacked Fang Yun with lightning-fast speed, biting straight at his head, but Fang Yun's reaction speed is not slow, easily dodging the black snake attack, the biting back at it. The black snake barely dodged Fang Yun's attack, but Fang Yun was prepared. Tightening his muscles, he made a double attack in the air, biting straight toward the black snake body. This time, the black snake couldn't dodge at all, causing it to be bitten by Fang Yun at its waist. Hiss! Under the pain, the black snake couldn't help but scream, turning its head, wanting to bite back at Fang Yun, but Fang Yun would not give it this opportunity. Releasing the snake waist, Fang Yun flashed to the side, then quietly stared at the black snake, a hint of a smile on his face. The opposite black snake fell straight into the ground, then climbed back, hissing at Fang Yun, seemingly wanting to continue its attack, but suddenly it twitched slightly, seeming to suffer from some kind of pain. Over time, its twitching amplitude is strengthening, twitching more and more. In the end, it constantly rolled on the ground. Hiss! Finally, after the black snake uttered its last scream, it stopped moving, its eyes losing their luster. Seeing that the black snake stopped moving, Fang Yun bit its tail, then dragged it to the bushes, hiding it, deciding to swallow the hair first, then come back to it later. After swallowing the hair, Fang Yun hid in the bushes waiting for the hair to be digested, somewhat uncomfortable, mainly because the hair limbs are scratching his stomach. After half an hour, the hair was completely digested. Fang Yun didn't waste time, immediately swallowing the black snake. After half digesting the black snake, Fang Yun crawled from the bushes, looking at the sky. It's almost dark. It's time to go back. Fang Yun sighed. His current position is a bit far from the pine tree. He guessed that by the time he returned to the pine tree, the sky would have long darkened. Hey, hey! As Fang Yun quickly crawled back, the sound of leaves cracking sounded. At this time, the black snake in his stomach has been completely digested. He also got 80 bioenergy point. System, bring up my properties panel. Fang Yun, who was still crawling back, said in his mind. Immediately a light screen appeared in his mind. _ Host property list. Level 6. Bioenergy 531 thousandths. Skill points 1. Body length 1.5 meters. Diameter 3.6 centimeters. Power 3.0. Defense 5.0. Speed 2.5. Agile 3.0. Spirit 4.0. Physical strength 3.8. Skills: Deadly Venom 2/5, Skin Resistance 1/5, Fast Digest 2/5. Reputation Value 9,225 10 millionths. Bioenergy has already reached 530 points, 470 points, and I can evolve again. Looking at his own property panel, Fang Yun somewhat relaxed. Although 1,000 bioenergy points seems like a lot, for the current him, it seems like it won't be a problem. The bigger he gets, the bigger the prey he can hunt and swallow. That means he can get more and more bioenergy. As long as he can capture 1 or 2 preys the size of today's hair, he can quickly gather enough bioenergy to evolve. Of course, Fang Yun understands that he can't always be this lucky. The most difficult task in hunting is finding prey that he can swallow and provide enough bioenergy for it to be worth the effort. For example, he stopped eating insects, as the effort he does to catch them isn't worth the bioenergy they provide. While checking his property panel, he couldn't help but get surprised. He found that there was another change apart from the bioenergy, that being his reputation value, changing from 7,400 to more than 9,000. After thinking about what could have caused this, he guessed that someone recorded the previous girl stream, then posted it on a video platform. However, it seems that the video did not get that popular, causing his reputation value growth to be limited. It's not that hard to understand. The video publisher probably isn't that famous, causing it to be submerged under the massive amount of other videos. I hope that it gets more popular, at least provide me another 800 reputation value. Fang Yun prayed. If his reputation value grows by another 800, it can break through 10,000. According to the previous example, he will get a certain amount of skill points once his reputation value increases by 10 times. And the number of points he will get this time will be 5. If he gets these 5 points, plus the points he will get after his next evolution, he will have enough points to upgrade the skill, Skin Resistance. After 2 upgrades, without mentioning the defense increase, his cold resistance will surely increase, which means that he is less likely to hibernate. Even if the temperature in the mountain suddenly decreases, he won't have to worry about it. Cry. While Fang Yun was deep in his thoughts, he suddenly heard the sound of an animal scream, and most importantly, it sounded right above his current location. At the same time, in the corner of his eyes, a black shadow was falling straight down to his location. It's the eagle. In an instant, Fang Yun understood, a cold shiver going straight in his spine.